Chapter 2578. Greetings, Alliance Leader. Greetings, Senior Qin Nan. Many disciples hurriedly cupped their hands and bowed. There was some excitement on their faces. Qin Nan was the reason why they were able to work together. Qin Nan was their spiritual pillar too. Qin Nan smiled and returned the greeting. He turned around and glanced at the undying cycle mountain. Go. Zhou Xuandao waved his sleeves. A white mist immediately appeared above the fourth mountain, shrouding the sky and the sun. Got it. Qin Nan turned into a blinding ray and sprang into the white mist. The first four mountains were opened by Zhou Xuandao after Qin Nan achieved the Master Realm and Qin Nan was threatened by Wu Di. Qin Nan would have to do it himself if he wanted to open the remaining mountains. Qin Nan flicked his finger and fired a brilliant ray into the white mist. A deafening blast immediately took place as the white mist within a few 10,000 li dissipated. The white mist might be faint, but it contained some mystical properties. No ordinary force was able to penetrate it. Qin Nan immediately realized what was going on. He activated the half-shield of the indestructible flesh of eternity and the art of the immortal demon. A brilliant glow soared into the sky. The disciples at the first mountain stage could only feel that Qin Nan was like a legendary deity, surpassing everything in the heavens and earth, with an imperious aura. Break! Qin Nan threw a punch forward. It shattered the white mist into pieces with brute force. A brand new space appeared before the crowd. The fifth mountain contains 76 hidden treasures. Cultivators below the ruler realm are allowed to enter it. Each hidden treasure contains lots of fortunate encounters. If you can find one or two of them, you will be able to alter your destiny, Zhou Xuandao said. The disciples were dumbfounded. One had to know what was the biggest problem for the entire alliance right now. That is, there is no place to train. Even though there were many mystical grounds in the Nine Heavens immortal realm that contained fortunate encounters that could improve one's cultivation, most of the formidable factions in the Nine Heavens immortal realm were trying to suppress them. Once their identities were discovered, they would often be hunted down and killed. It was extremely dangerous. But now, with the opening of a mountain pass, this problem was solved. Good. Even Emperor Ling Huang could not help but exclaim in admiration. Qin Nan's figure did not stop there. Like a golden-winged giant ping spreading his wings, he instantly arrived at the top of the fifth mountain pass. It was still a boundless fog. Merely, the color of the fog had turned fiery red. It was as if the fog was burning with boundless divine flames. Qin Nan was like a hot knife through butter, not stopping at all. He threw another punch, and the fog in the sky dissipated. Following this, the crowd saw the appearance of the sixth mountain pass. Countless immortal glows burst out from it, and a series of immortal tunes could be heard from it. The sixth mountain pass, the land of golden spears. It contains countless materials for refining weapons. Cultivators below the Heaven Highness realm are allowed to enter and pick any of the materials to refine their weapons. Zhou Xuandao's voice echoed in the surroundings. At that moment, both the disciples and the sovereigns were visibly shaken. Qin Nan did not stop there. He continued to move forward. The seventh mountain pass, the land of seven comprehensions. It contains the one magical lotus platform, the two mystical caves, the three talents godly tree, the four symbols sea of flowers, the five elements stone path, the six unity pagoda, and the seven stars heavenly pattern. Cultivators below the Supreme Highness realm and above the Heaven Immortal realm are allowed to enter each place. This time, you will go into seclusion to comprehend them. The eighth mountain pass is called the Illusionary Sky Battlefield. Cultivators below the Supreme Highness realm and above the Heaven Immortal realm will face illusions that are a few times stronger than their own. The ninth mountain pass is called the Land of Absolute Heaven. It contains 99,999 materials that surpass the immortal blessing level. Each of them is extremely useful. Only cultivators above the ruler realm are allowed to pick 3 of them. Following Zhou Xuandao's thunderous voice, the disciples and experts were utterly dumbfounded. To their astonishment, Qin Nan was able to open all the way to the 9th layer of the mountain, and the most shocking thing was that each layer of the mountain was filled with such powerful secrets. This 10-fold mountain pass was simply a path to becoming stronger. Zhou Xuandao and Jia Ye's eyes flickered with astonishment too. When Zhou Di ascended the undying Zhou mountain, his cultivation had reached the peak Heaven Highness realm before he was able to open the 9th mountain pass. However, Qin Nan had done it with his cultivation of the peak ruler realm. Meanwhile, in the 9th mountain pass, Qin Nan could not help but feel overjoyed when he sensed the dense spiritual qi. The undying cycle mountain was truly an unparalleled treasure mountain. Wouldn't these heavenly materials and earthly treasures be used to refine immortal pills? Qin Nan was initially having a headache. Even though he had acquired a peerless pill art, the 9 heavens immortal realm was not as powerful as the other realms, thus there were not as many resources as the other realms. Judging from the auras of the materials, I might be able to refine 3rd revolution, or even 4th revolution immortal pills. Qin Nan murmured. He glanced ahead. The path from the 5th mountain pass to the 9th mountain pass was covered in mist. The only difference was the color of the mist, and the level of its enchantment. However, there was a door on the path leading to the 10th mountain pass. The door was 39,000 zhang tall and 11,000 zhang wide. It was crimson red and emitted a godly glow as if it was forged with the blood of gods. It stood there silently, suppressing all the mysteries of the heavens. Anyone who saw it for the first time would feel a sense of insignificance. Even Qin Nan was slightly startled by the aura of the door. The Heaven Peak ranking and the undying Zhou Mountain are both formed by a portion of the purest origin force between the heavens and earth. Logically speaking, there isn't much difference between the essence of the two. Why is Brother Tian able to control the Heaven Peak ranking and become so powerful, but Senior Zhou is unable to utilize the power of the undying Zhou Mountain, and isn't as strong as he is? Besides, I've achieved the Supreme Highness realm in the ancient era, but the door is still able to affect me. It's obvious that the door is stronger than ordinary Supreme Highnesses. If the door is already so powerful, what would be behind it? From this point of view, the undying Cycle Mountain seemed to be much stronger than the heavenly rankings. It doesn't make any sense. Chapter 2579. Thud. It was clearly a door, but it made the sound of a heavy bell being rung. Qin Nan's eyes glittered. The saber glow he fired did not even leave a mark on the magnificent door, let alone shake it. Heavenly will. Qin Nan immediately unleashed his flesh of origin. His aura skyrocketed too. Controlling the universe as one, Qin Nan let out a roar. The half-inextinguishable flesh of eternity, the art of the immortal demon, the scriptures of Sky Tai Huang, and other arts of Tao seeking were unleashed in his body. Wisps of godly glow burst out of his back. Logically speaking, circulating so many Tao arts in one go wouldn't cause the caster to become stronger, and it would instead cause them to collide with each other due to the different methods of circulation of the various Tao arts and the different wills they possessed, causing them to become extremely chaotic. The cultivator's strength would drop, or even suffer serious injuries. However, the same problem did not apply to Qin Nan. Both the half-inextinguishable flesh of eternity, the art of the immortal demon, and other arts of the immortal demon were executed in an orderly manner instead of provoking one another. 10,000 arts turning into one saber. The primary force in Qin Nan's body was unleashed. It connected the power and will of the half-destructible flesh of eternity, the art of the immortal demon, and the rest of the Tao arts like invisible strings, forming a magical force. It was a perfect combination. In the end, they combined into a saber glow. As the heaven-shattering saber in Qin Nan's hand slashed forward, the brilliant glow of the saber lit up the surroundings. Even the rift nearby began to tremble due to its overwhelming aura. Thud! A sound that sounded like the rapid ringing of a mountain bell resounded throughout the world. Qin Nan immediately realized the difference. However, his eyes widened before he could feel joyful. The door remained motionless, but unlike last time, it was as if it had been enraged by Qin Nan. A symbol suddenly lit up on the door, and a vast amount of energy erupted from it, directly attacking Qin Nan. Qin Nan's expression changed drastically. He quickly interweaved the mountain intent of the great evolution world to protect himself. Boom! The mountain will shattered, and the remaining force struck Qin Nan in the chest. Like a shooting star, Qin Nan streaked across the void and crashed into the ground of the 9th mountain pass, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. Qin Nan felt a sweetness in his throat, and he couldn't stop himself from coughing up a mouthful of blood. It fell to the ground and turned into a flower on the golden heaven and earth. His chest was in excruciating pain. 4 of his ribs were broken. For might not seem like a lot, but one should know that Qin Nan now had the body of origin. In addition to the half-step eternal indestructible body and the integration of Huang Fuju's celestial body, the strength of his physical body had already reached an unimaginable level. Ordinary peak heaven highnesses would not even be able to break through his defense. What do you think? Do you know how terrifying the 10th mountain pass is now? Zhou Xuandao and Jia Yi had arrived out of nowhere. Zhou Xuandao said with a grin, "When Zhou Di achieved the eternal indestructible body and became a supreme highness, he attacked you with all his might. Guess what? The gate is fine, but Zhou Di was severely injured. He only managed to recover after consuming a lot of resources." Qin Nan's lips twisted. How could this door be so terrifying? Besides, why didn't you tell him when you knew about it? Meanwhile, Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan had arrived too. Even though the entire Undying Cycle Mountain was in an uproar, and even Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the rest of the authorities had made their way to different mountains, the 2 of them were still worried. Qin Nan was the only person they could think of, thus they had rushed over. Princess Miao Miao was shocked when she saw Qin Nan's condition. "Qin Nan, are you all right? Who hurt you?" "Ugh, I'm fine, it's just a few broken ribs." Qin Nan rose to his feet. He asked as a thought crossed his mind, "By the way, where's Rodeo? I didn't see her in the hall. Did she go out again?" Jiang Bailan giggled and said, "Sister Mengyao felt that she was in trouble when she heard that you went to see Heaven Highness 4 Demon and the others because of her. She was afraid that you would punish her, so she locked herself in the palace. She was planning to see you after you calmed down." "You?" Qin Nan was a little angry and amused at the same time. How bold was Rodeo when he first met her! Yet now, she was letting her imagination run wild like a little woman. "By the way, did the copper Empress come back when I was away? Where is she now?" Qin Nan could not help but ask. Qin Nan had long wanted to ask, yet something happened as soon as he returned to the Undying Cycle Mountain. He had no choice but to deal with it first. "We have no idea where Sister Feiyue is either. It feels like she has vanished from the primary upper realm in the past year and a half. We haven't heard any news about her in the 9 Heavens immortal realm. Oh right, she did send us a message around half a year ago, but it was only a few words. 4 words, don't miss her, that's great." Princess Miao Miao frowned and said, "However, we kept asking her where she was and sent her a lot of messages, but she didn't respond." Qin Nan let out a relieved sigh. "Don't miss her, that's great. If that was the case, the Empress should be fine. She would come back when the time was right." However, to Qin Nan's surprise, the Blue Dome, inside a cave in the upper mystic realm, a glamorous woman was leaning against the wall. Her face was pale, and her breathing was weak. Her originally snow-white dress was imprinted with several dark red bloodstains. Those were not the enemy's, but her own blood. They had soaked in her dress and finally solidified. Her blood had coagulated. The cave was buzzing, as if a terrifying wind was blowing fiercely. Occasionally, there would be muffled sounds of collisions, as if there was some terrifying thing in the darkness outside the cave that was spying on them. If it wasn't for the fact that there was a fragment at the entrance of the cave that was emitting a faint golden light that enveloped the entire cave, that terrifying thing would have already charged in. The glamorous woman's head felt heavy. Her vision was turning gray. She subconsciously had the urge to close her eyes. However, she did not want to do so. She forced herself to look into her summer ring with her divine sense. At this moment, her summer ring was already very empty. There were only 3 pills and some silent badges left. She had altered the badges to stop her thoughts when she came to the blue dome. Only she could transmit her divine sense. She was unable to receive the divine sense of other people. She picked up a pill and consumed it. She immediately felt better. It seems like it's time for me to transmit my divine sense again, she murmured. She took out a badge and was about to do something when she suddenly coughed violently. Dark red blood leaked out from the corner of her mouth. Chapter 2580. Not long after, the 4th layer of the undying cycle mountain. Unlike the usual bustle, there was not a single cultivator in the immortal palaces and cities. They were all gathered in the remaining immortal palaces. Qin Nan arrived in the air. He scanned the area with his divine sense, and found the immortal palace where ruler Rideo was. He went up to the immortal palace with a flicker. Greetings, Alliance leader Qin Nan. 2 young women stood in front of the immortal palace. They immediately bowed when they saw Qin Nan. Their cultivations were in the earth immortal realm. They were the 2 disciples that Rideo had carefully selected after coming to the undying cycle mountain. What are you doing here? Qin Nan said with a smile. Now that the immortal palaces are open, there are lots of fortunate encounters waiting for you. You should hurry up. The young woman on his left said with a faint smile, Master already knew you would come, so she specifically asked us to wait here. Qin Nan was startled. The woman on his right said, Alliance leader Qin Nan, Master asked us to tell you that she hopes you can suppress your cultivation to Emperor Wu's level, and that you can't unseal it easily. Master said she's afraid you'll do something to her. Do something to her? Qin Nan's face darkened upon hearing this. Do something to her? Who did Rideo think he was? Besides, Rideo was only putting herself in danger for the sake of the Alliance. She had done nothing wrong. Fine, I'll seal my cultivation then. Qin Nan snapped. He withdrew his aura to Emperor Wu's level with a thought, making him look minuscule. Alliance Master, please. The 2 women made an inviting gesture, and the tightly shut door opened by itself. Qin Nan went inside and picked up a faint fragrance. He lifted his gaze and saw a small copper incense burner at the center of the hall. Wisps of smoke were rising from it. The interior of the hall was meticulously decorated. Several mysterious and extraordinary landscape paintings were hung on the walls, and the floor was covered with a layer of light blue soft leather carpet. In the middle of the hall, there was a row of jade chairs made of white jade, and in front of them, there was a star. A screen made of stone separated the front and back of the hall. Rideo? Where are you? Don't let your imagination run wild. I won't make a move against you, and I won't blame you. Qin Nan looked around for a moment, but didn't see anyone. So, he spoke out. Little husband, we've only been apart for a year and a half. Have you already forgotten my name? A voice that contained a trace of resentment sounded from the back of the hall. Ahem, Meng Yao. Qin Nan immediately corrected himself. Come in, I'll wait for you inside. Shui Meng Yao said. Okay. Qin Nan didn't think much and walked straight over. His cultivation had been suppressed to the level of Emperor Wu, so his senses were all lowered. So, when he walked through the screen and arrived at the back of the hall, his face immediately heated up. He saw a big red silk bed covered with a layer of white gauze in the back of the hall. 300 feet away from it, there was a pool with a radius of 3 feet. The pool was made of white jade, filled with light blue immortal water that was still steaming. Rideo was sitting in the pool, facing Qin Nan. Some of her wet hair stuck to her smooth forehead. Her fair face was slightly red, not only because of the water temperature, but also because of other reasons. Her eyes were like silk shy. She was shy. Sorry, I didn't know you were bathing. Qin Nan quickly reacted and turned around, preparing to leave the back of the hall in a panic. Don't go! Xue Mengyao shouted. Qin Nan subconsciously stopped. With a splash, Xue Mengyao stood up from the pool. She waved her hand, and the long gauze dress on the bed covered her whole body. Before Qin Nan could react, he immediately felt a hot body close to his back, making him unable to breathe. Although I haven't known you since the secondary lower realm like the princess and the others, I know you won't blame me, and you won't beat me. I said that to make you lower your cultivation, Xue Mengyao added. She whispered into Qin Nan's ear with a soft voice, Don't undo your cultivation. It's not like when we first met, when I could still hold you down. I'm afraid you'll run away. Hearing this, Qin Nan's heart trembled slightly, and he couldn't help but soften a little. He whispered, I won't release my cultivation for the time being. I won't run away. Xue Mengyao nodded softly as her face grew redder. When I found out you went straight to the four-demon Heavenly Highness to save me, I was very selfish. At first, I wasn't worried about your safety at all. Instead, I was very happy. Qin Nan, did you know? When I first met you, I didn't think much of you. That old thing asked me to be your wife, but I refused. Later, that old thing found out your true identity, and told me not to get close to you. It scared me. Qin Nan finally understood why Master Rodeo had called him her husband after she had recovered her Tao foundation. So that was why. However, who would have thought that after slowly learning about your deeds, your figure would instead become clearer and clearer in this concubine's heart, and also become more and more profound. It wasn't until you married Miao Miao and Lon Lon that I realized I had lost to you. This concubine was originally a person who should have died. It is already extremely fortunate that I survived. I'm even luckier to be able to meet a man that I'm interested in while I'm still alive. Therefore, I don't have any other requests. I didn't expect you to bring me back to the lower realm and marry me in front of my uncle. This concubine only wants to be with you in the name of husband and wife. I know the second battle of the Heaven Highnesses in the battlefield of God Aura will take place in 4 months. It's going to be the beginning of a great change in the 9 heavens immortal realm. I don't know what the future holds. Therefore, I only have one small wish, I hope. Chapter 2581. The next day, noon, Qin Nan sent a message to Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others after he left the Immortal Palace. Not long after, every expert in the Master Realm or above in the Alliance had gathered in the hall. The Alliance was formed by the Sky Taihuang sect, the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect, the Sanqing Ancient sect, the Sherdao tribe, and some other minor factions. Even though there were only a few rulers of Tao when the Alliance was first established, they had a lot of peerless rulers, 9 Heaven Supremes and Masters of Tao. As such, their alliance had suffered a lot from Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian over the past year. Many factions were trying to suppress them, but many people still managed to achieve the Master Realm and the Ruler Realm with the help of the battlefield. There were 36 rulers of Tao in the alliance. There were even more Masters of Tao in the alliance. Qin Nan went to the main seat under the crowd's gaze and sat down with his legs crossed. Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others straightened their faces too. They sat on the futons with their legs crossed. What is a Heaven Highness? What is a Supreme Highness? The power of a Heaven Highness lies in their understanding of the rules and why are some Heaven Highnesses strong while others are weak? In the Heaven Highness realm, there are other realms called Self, Earth, Heaven, Tao. Qin Nan was giving a speech. Qin Nan was no longer the same Qin Nan from a year ago. He was once a Supreme Highness in the Heaven realm. He even observed the great evolution world mountain and competed with the geniuses of various worlds. He obtained many mysterious daos from the mysterious chamber. He was like Tsang being reborn and Yi Zhaoxian being resurrected. This time, the lecture lasted for a full 10 days and 10 nights before it finally stopped. The people in the hall, from Heaven Highness Ling Huang to the cultivators in the Master Realm, had learned a lot from the speech. A few dozen of them were enlightened by Qin Nan's speech. Their auras surged as they achieved significant breakthroughs on the spot. The crowd dispersed and went to the mountains to train themselves in preparation for the upcoming battle of Heaven Highnesses. Qin Nan also calmed down and began to comprehend the Spiritual Beauty Pavilion's pill arts, pill techniques, and pill recipes. Qin Nan spent an entire month on this enlightenment, and this was only a general understanding and a rudimentary mastery. The path of alchemy was as vast as the ocean, and the great evolution heavenly sex spiritual beauty pavilion was one of the pinnacle of the myriad worlds back then. If Qin Nan wanted to completely grasp them and reach the level where he could refine the 9 transformation immortal pill, it would still be very far away. There was still a long way to go. Qin Nan thought about it for a moment, then decided to head to the 9th mountain pass with Zhou Sun and Dao Cassiopeia. They began to identify the various materials and earthly treasures to determine their effect. Qin Nan did not choose to refine the pills. He discussed with Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia and decided to distribute half of the resources to the experts in the Master Realm and above. The reason being that he was running out of time. He did not have enough time to improve his pill alchemy and refine the immortal pills. Qin Nan asked Zhou Xuandao to take care of everything in the Undying Cycle Mountain before entering the ownerless heaven pattern. The art of the immortal demon had reached the perfect stage, but the flesh of eternity was only half a step away. Qin Nan decided to cultivate the flesh of eternity instead. However, as Qin Nan cultivated, he noticed a problem on the 10th day. No matter how hard he tried, he could not refine the flesh of eternity. He kept feeling like he was missing something. It seems like I'll need a suitable opportunity to refine the flesh of eternity, Qin Nan murmured. He put the matter aside for the time being and began to cultivate the great heavenly scripture instead. He already had an idea about the second half of the great heavenly scripture. He was going to learn the way to refine it. When I came back from the ancient era, Fenghua mentioned that he would comprehend the way to refine the second half and stay in the 9 heavens immortal realm. He must have figured it out in the end, but I wonder where he is, if he's still in the 9 heavens immortal realm, and if he can find. I wonder if the second half of the great heavenly scripture he came up with is different from the one I came up with. Qin Nan recalled the past. It took him some time to collect his thoughts. He decided to focus on the cultivation. The man had passed away, but the living were still alive. Time gradually passed. 2 months were gone in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, the formidable factions in the 9 heavens immortal realm and the rogue cultivators in the small immortal realms began to make their move. Most of them had gathered in the first small immortal realm. Some of them had gathered in the lower arcana realm of the Blue Dome. Following the birth of the battlefield of God Aura, many experts had gathered in the lower arcana realm of the Blue Dome over the past year. With the help of Yi Zhaoxian and the Heaven Highnesses, the lower arcana realm had developed a spacious safe zone. They even constructed a few dozen ancient cities floating in the air. The 10 immortal gates that Yi Zhaoxian had established were located in the lower arcana realm too. According to the rules that Yi Zhaoxian had set up, anyone who wanted to enter the battlefield of God Aura would have to enter the 10 immortal gates first. If anyone tried to find their way to the battlefield of God Aura on their own, they would be discovered by the heavens. The experts that were allied with Yi Zhaoxian would be killed. On this day, Qin Nan finally came out from his seclusion. After 2 months of deduction, he had perfected the second half of the heavenly chant of the great samsara, but he was still a long way from completing it. After all, it took him and Chen Fenghua a long time to complete the first half of the chant with the help of the Book of Feng Dao and the Spirit of the Celestial Pole List. It was extremely difficult to come up with a new chant, let alone a peerless one. Qin Nan. Heaven Highness Ling Huang, Mingqiu progenitor, Shuangdao progenitor, and Princess Miao Miao followed Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia to Qin Nan. There are only 15 days left until the battlefield of God Aura and the Battle of Heaven Highnesses. What do you have in mind? Heaven Highness Ling Huang said with a frown, Song is going to use the opportunity to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. Everyone knows that you will figure out a way to achieve it. Chapter 2582. Qin Nan fell into deep thought. Heaven Master Ling Huang was right. He would have to face the wrath of Yi Zhaoxian and Song. If he was alone, it wouldn't matter, but he wasn't alone. Besides, if Heaven Master Ling Huang and the others were captured by Yi Zhaoxian and used to threaten him when they were trying to achieve a breakthrough in the battlefield of God Aura, he would not dare to do anything to them. There are still 10 days until the battlefield of God Aura and the Battle of Heaven Highnesses begin. Qin Nan came up with an idea. He said, if that's the case, why don't I go there first and see if I can take out the 10 immortal gates that Yi Zhaoxian has set up in the eyes of heavens? I'll get rid of them. If they have other arrangements, I can destroy them one by one. That's fine. I don't think you'll be in any danger with your current cultivation, Zhou Shidao nodded. Zhou Xuandao nodded slightly and said, but there's one thing you have to remember. It's best if you don't reveal your strength, so as to avoid raising Yi Zhaoxian and Song's vigilance. Qin Nan said with a calm smile, Senior, you don't have to worry about that. Song and Yi Zhaoxian gave us a huge gift 2 years ago. I should return the favor by giving them a gift too. Qin Nan added after a slight pause, besides, I also think it won't do us any good if we split up and compete for the fortunate encounters in the battlefield of God Aura. Jiang Bailan nodded and said, I mentioned it to Senior Ling Huang on the way here. We think it's best for the Masters of Dao to be in pairs of 5. There must be a peak Master of Dao and a Master of Dao in the greater success stage. If it's a Ruler of Dao, then it's a trio. There must be a peak Ruler of Dao in pairs of 3. That's fine. Celestial Venerable Ling Huang continued. Our plan is to depart 5 days before the Celestial Venerable Realm opens. When the time comes, I will personally lead the team. There will be a total of 3 groups of people, and we will bring them to the Blue Dome's Lower Profound Realm. If you go to the Lower Profound Realm, where will you stay? Qin Nan asked. In the past 1.5 years, we have already opened up 12 strongholds in the Lower Profound Realm. These strongholds are all very hidden and have not been discovered yet. We might as well stay there. Celestial Sovereign Ling Huang said, and passed the map to Qin Nan. Sea of Consciousness. Uncle Ling Huang, I still feel that we have to seriously consider this. Princess Miao Miao rubbed her chin and said, Song and Yi Zhaoxian are 2 old monsters, repulsive and crafty. I was a little worried that they might have noticed. The reason why they haven't attacked our strongholds is to make us lower our guard. When the Celestial Venerable battle begins, they can capture us all in one fell swoop. Qin Nan praised, what the princess said makes sense. It is indeed very possible. Therefore, the matter of this stronghold should not be rushed for the time being. When I go over, I'll see if I can open up 2 or 3 more. Let's go if that's all right. We'll send some puppets to the other strongholds as a disguise. That's a good plan. There's one more thing, the battlefield of God Aura is very different from the mystical realms we've been to before. It's divided into. Qin Nan and the others spent 5 hours coming up with a plan. Qin Nan finally left the Undying Cycle Mountain with the ownerless heaven pattern after coming up with a plan. Before he left, Qin Nan did not forget to pay a visit to the Pearl of the Heaven Emperor that they were in control of. Before Qin Nan went into seclusion, he had placed Gu Fei's body parts at the core of the Pearl of the Heaven Emperor. He even retrieved lots of resources from the 9th layer of the mountain and set up a shocking formation to nourish them. Over the past 2 months, the body parts had undergone some changes, as if they were melting. The faint life force inside them gradually grew stronger too. It would not take long for them to ignite the flames of life. 100 breaths later, Qin Nan's figure appeared in the rift. The undying cycle mountain was able to conceal the heavens from the 9 heavens immortal realm. It was the reason why it was able to protect Qin Nan and the others from Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian when they were in great danger. The undying cycle mountain was currently somewhere in the 7th small immortal realm. Qin Nan had landed here too. Qin? Nan glanced into the distance. Wu? He had been to this place before he achieved the 9 heavens supreme realm. He had met many people and experienced a lot of things in the past. Now that he took a closer look, it felt like the sea had turned into mulberry fields, and the people had changed. Qin? Nan shook his head to calm his thoughts. He stepped into the rift and vanished into thin air. The Blue Dome, the lower arcana realm. Wu? The cultivators of the 9 heavens immortal realm were in full control of the area. There was no danger, and no powerful creatures from the Blue Dome would invade it. Wu? There were 26 immortal cities in the area. 16 of them were established by Yi Tsang's alliance. Any cultivator or faction that joined Yi Tsang's alliance was allowed to enter the cities for free. The alliance between the Wang clan and the Li clan had established 3 immortal cities. The remaining 7 immortal cities were established by the tribe of immortal spirits, the Mumin sect, and other factions with heaven highnesses. Immortal? The immortal city established by the tribe of immortal spirits was called the Imperial Capital. The entrance fee to the Imperial Capital was the cheapest compared to the other immortal cities. Thus it attracted more cultivators from the 9 heavens. The entrance of the city was crowded with people. Qin Nan put on a black robe and followed the crowd into the city. Hey, did you hear? The princess of the tribe of immortal spirits is going to choose a husband through a duel today. A duel to choose a husband? That's impossible, right? She's the princess of the tribe of immortal spirits. I heard she's extremely beautiful too. She's so beautiful that even the fishes and beasts alight. Why would she need a duel to choose a husband? Chapter 2583. Qin Nan was startled upon hearing this, as a delicate face appeared in his mind. Was the princess of the tribe of immortal spirits they were referring to Lu Qinin? Before Qin Nan killed Xianghun, he had a lot to do with Lu Qinin because he had mastered a forbidden art of the tribe of immortal spirit. She kept trying to hunt him down and set him up. She had given Qin Nan a lot of trouble. However, as the situation changed and Qin Nan rose rapidly, Qin Nan no longer had anything to do with her. Interesting, Qin Nan's lips curled upward as he followed the cultivators to another street. The city lord's mansion in the capital. This mansion was the most eye-catching existence in the capital city. Most people couldn't help but admire it for a while after seeing it, because it was made from the branches of hundreds of divine trees. It exuded a dense divine light, had an ancient fragrance, and was steady and grand. Moreover, the wood element qi between the heavens and earth was quite strong. Qin Nan only took a quick glance at the mansion. He was not interested in it, but he was startled by the sight before him. In front of the city lord's mansion was a dojo with a circumference of 50,000 zhang. The dojo was currently crowded with people, as if a shocking fortunate encounter was about to take place. Qin Nan took a closer look and saw white-haired old men and young men among the crowd. There were many cultivators too. They were clearly women even though they were dressed like scholars. If the female cultivators did not possess outstanding cultivation, Qin Nan would assume they were only here to enjoy the show. However, many of them were in the master realm. There were even a few rulers of Dao among them. Why would the masters of Dao and rulers of Dao come here to enjoy the show? Since when were the masters of Tao and rulers of Tao so free? Qin Nan patted the shoulder of a cultivator in front of him and asked curiously, "Cultivator, what's going on? Why are there so many people here? And why are there so many women?" The cultivator turned his head and sensed Qin Nan's unfathomable aura. He immediately smiled and said, "Senior, you don't know, but this princess of the tribe of immortal spirits is really an extraordinary woman. She was going to be the son-in-law of the entire 9 heavens immortal realm. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, old or young, as long as your cultivation is high enough, then it's fine." Furthermore, the martial competition she set up for her son-in-law is different from the usual martial competition. Normally, they would only need to fight, and the final victor would succeed. As for her side, it was divided into 2 stages. The first stage was a chaotic battle. All the participating cultivators entered the stage, and in the end, they returned. The 100 people on the field will be considered a success. The second trial is even more interesting. The tribe of immortal spirits discovered an ancient opportunity at the center of the divine aura battlefield. The first 100 people could follow her to the ancient opportunity the next day. As long as they met her requirements, they could become her husband. However, the immortal spirit clan did not mention the specifics. He lowered his voice and said, "Also, Senior, it's rumored that the tribe of immortal spirits found this opportunity is no small matter. Furthermore, the tribe of immortal spirits had also said that no matter what treasures they obtained during the fortuitous encounter, they would only have to share 30% with the tribe of immortal spirits. As for cultivation techniques and martial techniques, they were all given to immortals. 1 portion for the Ling clan is enough." Qin Nan's luck was pretty good. He met a chatterbox. Before Qin Nan could ask, the other party had already told Qin Nan all kinds of information. Qin Nan's expression became strange. Regardless of gender or age, why did the tribe of immortal spirits' selection of a son-in-law feel like an open conspiracy? Was it just to gather more experts to share this opportunity? However, this was a little unreasonable. Presently, an Empyrean like Lu Fang had appeared in the clan of immortal spirits, and they had already swept through the various clans a year ago to become the leader of the myriad of clans. Their forces were incomparably powerful, so there was completely no need to drag in an outsider. On top of that, it was even more unreasonable if it was a conspiracy. After all, the people that were chosen in the end would not be nameless. If the tribe of immortal spirits set them up, it would surely bring great trouble to them. Is the princess of the tribe of immortal spirits called Lu Qingyin? Qin Nan interrupted the cultivator. "Yes, Senior, it's Lu Qingyin." The cultivator seemed to be intoxicated. "This Princess Lu Qingyin is truly a great beauty. Most importantly, her bloodline has crossed tribes, giving her the legendary soulless flesh. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, as long as they have her and merge their divine sense with her, their cultivation will skyrocket. It will be a lot easier for them to achieve the Master Realm or even the Ruler Realm. The benefits are endless." Qin Nan finally realized why so many female cultivators were here. An ancient fortunate encounter in the battlefield of God Aura. A soulless flesh. Besides, the tribe of immortal spirits was currently very influential. If he could join them, he would have a greater chance of surviving the chaotic era that was to come. "Senior, aren't you going to take part in it? If you are, I would like to ask Senior for a favor. Can you ask Princess Lu Qingyin for a set of clothes that she used to wear? I don't have any other intentions, I just want to." The rogue cultivator looked forward to it. He was looking at Qin Nan. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. Take part in it. It sounded like a great idea. They were going to take part in the battlefield of God Aura the next day. "Lu Qingyin, you've tried to set me up many times. Even though I'm not in the mood to get my revenge, I might be able to disrupt your plan." Qin Nan's eyes glittered as he made up his mind. As for the rogue cultivator beside him, Qin Nan only gave him a vague reply, I got it. I'll head over first. Chapter 2584. Time slowly passed, and more cultivators rushed over upon hearing the news. Only at noon did the tightly shut thick door of the city governor's mansion slowly open. An incomparably dense and pure spiritual energy of the heavens and earth surged out from within and instantly swept across the entire training ground, causing everyone's body and mind to feel light and incomparably comfortable. A group of people came out from the dojo. The one leading them was an old man in a purple robe with a stern face. He was emitting a faint aura. He was a peak ruler realm cultivator. Beside the old man, there was a young man. He was extremely eye-catching because he wore a set of golden armor. Under the sunlight, he was dazzling, making him look like a god. That's Lu Xiaoming. Has his cultivation reached the peak master realm? Gasp. Isn't his cultivation improving too quickly? It won't take him long to achieve the ruler realm. Could it be that he is the same as his sister, also reaching the bloodline transcension and becoming a spiritless body? Many cultivators discussed among themselves when they saw the young man. Lu Xiaoming was only a peak 9 heavens supreme when he made a name for himself a year ago. Lu Xiaoming? Qin Nan was startled. He immediately recalled who Lu Xiaoming was. He had met Lu Xiaoming before. He was Lu Qingyin's brother. He was also the son of the current patriarch of the tribe of immortal spirits, Heaven Highness Lu Fang. However, Lu Xiaoming was extremely arrogant in the past. Even Qin Nan and the others did not offend him, yet he insisted on picking a fight with Qin Nan and the others. In the end, Qin Nan and the others taught him a lesson. It was the reason why Qin Nan and Lu Qingyin held a grudge against each other. Qin Nan took a closer look and realized that the current Lu Xiaoming was no longer the same Lu Xiaoming as before. His face was filled with a firm look, and his body was emitting a hint of murderous intent, as if he had been reborn. Did I teach the kid a lesson? Is that why he has come to his senses? Qin Nan thought to himself, and felt that it was quite possible, causing him to feel a sense of relief like an old grandpa. Qin Nan thought of his 2 children again. He wondered how Qin Shiyan and Qin Xiaoyu had been doing outside for the past year. Don't blame me for being cruel. I have no other choice now. Once I'm done with everything, I will return to your side and personally help you grow, Qin Nan said quietly in his heart. At this moment, the purple-robed old man stopped in his tracks. He faced the crowd and calmly said, Everyone, I am the 5th elder of the tribe of immortal spirits, Daoist Yu Miao. I represent the tribe of immortal spirits and the tribe leader to welcome you all. He paused for a moment, then said, I know the purpose of everyone's visit, so I won't beat around the bush. This time, the competition for a son-in-law is divided into 2 stages, and there are no restrictions on men or women. The first stage will be a battle royale. The last 100 people will be able to proceed to the next stage. After he finished speaking, Daoist Yu Miao formed a seal with both hands. Immediately, countless colorful light spots flew from all directions and condensed into a round light bead in his palm. Daoist Yu Miao pushed forward and the light bead flew up into the air. It suddenly began to expand and turned into a slanted, towering tree. Its roots were rooted in one direction, and its branches drooped down to the ground, turning into a tree door. Through the doorway, one could see that inside there was a small space that existed by itself. Pieces of white clouds were floating in it. Lu Xiaoming stepped forward and unleashed his aura. He glanced at the cultivators coldly. I'll make it simple. First, those who have yet to reach the master realm should withdraw from the competition. Second, those who already have a partner should not participate in the competition. Either way. The crowd immediately became restless upon hearing the words. A middle-aged man who was also in the peak master realm snapped, Lu Xiaoming, what do you mean by that? This isn't one of the rules that the tribe of immortal spirits has set. Are you going to rebel now? Are you going to betray the tribe of immortal spirits? Or do you think you're the chief of the tribe? Do you think you can change the rules as you please? Lu Xiaoming looked at the middle-aged man. His eyes emitted a godly glow as he said coldly, "Don't you dare accuse me like that. It's meaningless. Besides, the tribe of immortal spirits doesn't have such a rule, but I do. I don't care who you are, I'll kill you if I know you have a partner." The middle-aged man's expression shifted. His eyes burned furiously. In addition to him, many others wore dark expressions too. However, no one on the dojo objected to his decision. After all, Lu Xiaoming was no longer the same Lu Xiaoming. His future was limitless. He even had a Heaven Highness as his father. They could not afford to offend him. How imperious! Qin Nan nodded. However, he did not realize he already had 3 partners. To be more precise, he had 4 partners, but the last one was still far away. "All right, fellow cultivators, let's begin," Taoist Yu Miao said. The rulers who had arrived were the first to unleash their overwhelming auras and charged into the space. There were a total of 21 of them. The masters of Tao went into the cave too. Qin Nan did not purposely show off. He concealed his cultivation to the ruler realm and followed the crowd into the space. On top of it, Qin Nan had already executed the heavenly art of unity to alter his aura and appearance. Everything was flawless. Those below the Heaven Highness realm would not be able to see Qin Nan's true appearance. Chapter 2585. Qin Nan kept dodging the attacks. He would occasionally send a few masters of Tao flying. Of the 21 sovereigns, 3 of them watched the battle without any expression on their faces. They didn't seem to have any intention of interfering. The remaining 18 sovereigns attacked casually without any intention of locking down their opponent. The cultivators in the Master Realm did not want to provoke the rulers of Tao, but many of them decided to team up with the rulers of Tao. After all, the attacks of the rulers of Tao were extremely powerful. They had to defend themselves together. Time gradually passed. The number of cultivators in the space gradually decreased. Qin Nan suddenly saw a young man in armor. He had a handsome appearance. He was only in the greater success stage of the Master Realm, yet he was charging forward recklessly. Qin Nan soon noticed that whenever the young man was in danger, 2 peak rulers of Tao would look in his direction. One of the peak rulers of Tao would even lend a hand to the young man at times to resolve the danger he was in. "I see." Qin Nan immediately lost interest in the young man. The young man must be the son of a Heaven Highness if he was able to get help from 2 peak rulers of Tao. 2 hours later, there were only 100 cultivators left in the space. The tense atmosphere gradually calmed down. "Congratulations on passing the first stage," Yu Miao said. "Fellow cultivators, please come out of the space and follow me to the City Lord's mansion to rest for the night. At noon tomorrow, Princess Lu will personally host a luncheon to entertain all the fellow Taoists. I will also tell you the details of the second stage." Qin Nan and the others came out of the space. When they arrived at the entrance of the City Lord's mansion, the young man in armor suddenly exclaimed and grabbed everyone's attention. "I almost forgot, I already have 3 Tao companions." The young man looked at Lu Xiaoming with squinted eyes and said, "However, I'm very devoted to Princess Lu. Xiaoming, you won't trouble me, right?" The cultivators who had yet to leave the dojo immediately murmured among themselves. Qin Nan's ears were extremely sharp, and he learned from the conversations of others that this young man was Yan Wushuang, the son of Celestial Venerable Wu Chang, the sect leader of the Mumen sect. "My words are like water that has been spilled." Lu Xiaoming looked at him coldly and said, "If you don't believe me, you can try. Others might fear your identity, but I won't." Yan Wushuang laughed loudly and said, "This brother-in-law of yours isn't obedient. He scared this brother-in-law so much that I'm afraid. Sure, let me see what kind of tricks you have up your sleeve." At this time, Taoist Yu Miao saw that something was wrong and made an inviting gesture. Yan Wushuang immediately swaggered in. As soon as Qin Nan entered the residence, he immediately unleashed his powerful divine sense. It was obvious that a lot of thought had been put into the construction of the City Lord Mansion. Many places were set up with powerful formations and many divine items. It was extraordinary. There was also a place deep inside the City Lord Mansion that was set up with a shocking forbidding aura. It was most likely the work of Celestial Venerable Lu Feng. Qin Nan was not interested in exploring the place. He withdrew his divine sense and followed the disciples of the City Lord Mansion to his residence. Qin Nan learned where Lu Qingyin was when he spread his divine sense. Coincidentally, she was not far away from his residence. However, Qin Nan was not interested in catching up with her, thus he did not go to see her in advance. There's still some time until noon tomorrow. I should check out the other places. Qin Nan thought for a moment. He left a clone in the residence and left the City Lord Mansion silently. 9 of the 12 places that Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others had set up were located in the middle of the mystical realm under the Blue Dome. The remaining 3 were located in the deeper areas. I'm afraid these places have already been discovered. They haven't done anything yet because they want to take us all out. Qin Nan went to a place. He frowned after observing it for a while. Qin Nan transmitted his thoughts to Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others before flying deeper into the mystical realm. These 12 strongholds had to be completely destroyed. None of them could be used, and new strongholds had to be established. All of a sudden, Qin Nan could feel his heart throbbing. Qin Nan frowned slightly. He was startled after he sensed the aura for a while. Unleash! Qin Nan groaned in his heart. A huge illusionary figure appeared behind him with a shocking battle intent. The throbbing sensation from before was transmitted to him by the divine battle spirit. Since Qin Nan achieved the Master Realm, Qin Nan had rarely used the divine battle spirit. The divine battle spirit's buff was almost negligible. It was meaningless for Qin Nan to unleash the divine battle spirit with his current strength. However, why would the divine battle spirit suddenly show such a strange reaction? Wait, I remember it happening once before. It was when I came to the Blue Dome with Ji Jinzi. Qin Nan's eyes glittered as he came to a realization. The divine battle god Xiang Zun was the 5th immortal in the ancient era. He was also the strongest cultivator in the Master Realm. He was the same as the other immortals. He carried the secret of the immortals, but he was different too. He was known as the most special immortal. If the divine battle spirit was behaving strangely, it must have something to do with the special part? It seems like I'll have to visit the godly boulder as soon as I achieve the Heaven Highness realm. Qin Nan's eyes gradually turned cold as the thought crossed his mind. He had a feeling that old man's Wuxian had something to do with the mysterious death of the golden-eyed girl, Meng Lier. Following this, Qin Nan calmed his thoughts and carefully searched the place. When it was almost dawn, he had found 2 hidden spots and set up various powerful formations. He also cleared the path to the middle profound realm before returning to his destination. Chapter 2586. Under the lead of a disciple of the City Lord's mansion, Qin Nan and the rest of the cultivators arrived at a hall in the City Lord's mansion. An incense burner was placed at the center of the hall. It was burning with some precious incense. The pleasant aroma of the incense wafted into the air. They immediately felt their bodies lighten up and their spirits lift. In addition to it, there were tables made of some kind of godly wood placed in the hall. Each table was spacious enough to seat 5 people. It was not crowded at all. On top of that, there was a female disciple standing beside each table. Each of them was holding a tea tray in their hands. The tea tray was covered with red silk, and there were many golden teapots and teacups carved from the best immortal jade. In this calm and imposing style, there was an extra touch of brilliance, making people feel that it was not so old-fashioned. 3 people were already seated at the head of the hall. On the left was Taoist Yu Miao, on the right was Lu Xiaoming, and on the right was Lu Qinyin. Even though it had only been 2 years since Qin Nan last saw Lu Qinyin, Qin Nan felt like it had been a long time. Qin Nan noticed that Lu Qinyin had changed a lot when he saw his old friend. Lu Qinyin was wearing a long white dress today. It clung tightly to her body, accentuating her curvaceous figure. Her hair was tied up in a bun too, leaving only a few strands by her temples. She was wearing a golden Buddha statue on her chest. It served as a great contrast to her snow-white skin. She was even prettier than before. She was less cold, more dignified, and more ethereal. "Thank you, fellow Taoists, for coming all the way here to support me." Lu Qinyin bowed. Her voice was pleasant with a hint of gentleness as she said, "Please take a seat, fellow cultivators. I've specially prepared a new product of the tribe of immortal spirits. It's the cloud bamboo immortal tea. Please have a taste." Yan Wushuang, the son of the patriarch of the Mumen sect, burst out laughing. "Ha ha, Qinyin knows me well. She knows I've been wanting to try the cloud bamboo immortal tea for a long time." He walked forward as he spoke and sat down at the wooden table at the front of the line. He scanned Lu Qingyin's body recklessly. The eyes of the rulers flickered with displeasure, but they did not say anything. They expressed their gratitude and went to the tables. Even though the tables did not specify who was going to sit at where, the rulers of Tao consciously sat at the front, followed by the peak masters of Tao and the greater success stage of the master realm. Qin Nan did not deliberately keep a low profile and sat at the third table. The female disciples, who had been preparing for a long time, began to put down their tea sets and personally brew tea. After a while, the fragrance in the hall instantly became stronger. Moreover, this cloud bamboo immortal tea was very mysterious. The white steam that rose from the tea did not dissipate, but slowly flowed in the hall, making people feel as if they were in the clouds. "Qinyin, I don't think there's any need to say more." Yan Wushuang emptied his cup and said straightforwardly, "We are all straightforward people. Hurry up and tell us what the second stage is about so I can finish my business as soon as possible. You should prepare for the wedding." Lu Xiaoming harumphed coldly, but Lu Qingyin's expression remained the same. She giggled and said, "If Brother Yan says so, I guess I'll just have to comply. I believe everyone already knows that the succession is located in the Kuan ground. It's located in the middle of the Kuan ground." The battlefield of God Aura was split into 2 parts, the Kuan ground and the Tianqian ground. The Kuan ground was like a small immortal realm. It was vast and boundless. Cultivators in the basic stage of the Master Realm to the greater success stage of the Ruler Realm were allowed to enter it. Peak rulers and heaven highnesses were not allowed to enter it. Yi Zhaoxian had set up the Kuan ground to increase the number of rulers of Tao in the 9 heavens immortal realm. As for the Tianqian ground, it was where the battles between heaven highnesses took place. The Tianqian ground was slightly smaller than the Kuan ground. It was not divided into the outer, middle, and inner parts like the Kuan ground. It was only divided into the Nanshan battlefield and the Beigu battlefield. The rulers of Tao were allowed to choose a battlefield after they reached the Tianqian ground. They could enter the battlefield and search for fortunate encounters to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. The tribe of immortal spirits discovered the succession a month ago. "We named it the Sea Shaman Palace," Lu Qinyin said. "The palace is very spacious. We have only explored it once. We were about to reach the inner part of the Sea Shaman Palace. However, we were stopped by the Sea Shaman Palace. It was an ancient wall that stopped us. There were 5 elders in the Peak Ruler realm at the time, yet they failed to penetrate the wall. Later, after our exploration, we found that the ancient wall concealed 5 openings, and from their point of view, judging from their shapes, they correspond to 5 pieces of ancient jade. These 5 pieces of jade grew on an ancient tree not far from the ancient wall. Although they don't have any cultivation base, they are very strange. As soon as the 5 of us elders approached them, they would flee. They were so fast that we didn't even have time to attack them. We had to take them down. The 5 elders tried their best to set up formations and used Tao-seeking weapons and Heaven Highness weapons, but they were still able to run away. It was impossible to capture them. A ruler of Tao raised his brows and said, "So did the tribe of immortal spirits manage to claim the ancient jades?" Lu Qingyin said with a faint smile, "Cultivator, we managed to claim 2 of them. The 5 of us had already given up. We were planning to return the way we came and explore the other parts of the Sea Shaman Palace, but we happened to stumble upon a sea of flowers." A sea of flowers. The sea of flowers happened to be budding. When they fully blossomed, an ancient jade flew across the sky and lay in the sea of flowers as if it was resting. The 5 rulers of Tao made their moves, but the ancient jade did not run away. It was easy to claim it. Someone blurted out, "Are the flowers rare?" Lu Qingyin nodded and said, "Indeed." After obtaining the ancient jade, the sea of flowers also inexplicably withered. The 5 elders went to other parts of the Sea Shaman Palace. It took them 2 days to find 99 of the flowers. Chapter 2587. I believe you all understand what I'm trying to say. No matter which fellow Taoist you are, if you can obtain the remaining 3 pieces of jade and give them to me, you will be my Taoist companion. The cultivators in the hall frowned slightly. It was obvious that it was not going to be easy to win the woman's heart. First of all, it was extremely risky to pluck the mysterious flowers. Even the 5 peak rulers of Tao were severely injured. Second of all, it was impossible to pluck enough mysterious flowers in one go to claim the 3 pieces of jade. It was likely that the 3 pieces of jade would end up in the hands of 3 different parties. When that happened, there would be a fierce battle between the 2 parties. However, they were already mentally prepared for this. Besides, if they encountered any danger that prevented them from completing the second stage, they could simply give up and treat it as an exploration of the Sea Shaman Palace. All of a sudden, the cultivators in the hall began to discuss with one another through voice transmission. Qin Nan, who had been listening in silence, received 5 messages too. The others had sensed that he was in the early stage of the ruler realm. They wanted to recruit him, but Qin Nan turned them down. "Fellow cultivators, the journey is going to be risky, so it's not too late for you to give up now," Taoist Yu Miao said. Seeing that no one responded, Taoist Yu Miao nodded slightly and said, "Since all of you choose to continue, I will now tell you all the information about the Sea Witch Palace that our tribe of immortal spirits has. Please don't spread it." Taoist Yu Miao immediately transmitted his voice to the cultivators in the hall. Qin Nan quickly scanned through it. He did not keep it in mind. "Since we've come to an agreement, let's set off immediately. I can't wait any longer." Yan Wushuang placed the teacup down with a soft thud. He looked extremely confident, as if the 3 pieces of jade were his. It was already in his bag. Lu Xiaoming looked at him in disgust and said, "Fellow cultivators, please come with me." The tribe of immortal spirits had prepared a Tao-seeking weapon boat. It rose into the air and headed east after the cultivators boarded it. There were 2 ways to enter the battlefield of divine breath. The first way was to enter the 10 sects set up by Yi Zhaoxian and the Zhangji Alliance. The second way was to secretly establish a stronghold and quietly sneak into the battlefield like Qin Nan's alliance. Apart from the cultivators in Qin Nan's alliance, almost all the cultivators in the primary upper realm had entered through the 10 great immortal sections. This was because the 10 great immortal sects only targeted the cultivators of the Qin Nan alliance. No matter how evil or dangerous the other cultivators were, Yi Zhaoxian and the Blue Alliance would not care about them. Not far from the capital, there was an immortal city built by Yi Tsang's alliance. It was called Ancient Glaze, and there was a gate of immortality in it. Roughly an hour later, the tribe of immortal spirits ship arrived at the center of Ancient Glaze City. There were only 9 days left until the Battle of the Heaven Highnesses in the battlefield of Divine Breath. Many cultivators had already arrived in Ancient Glaze City. It was bustling with noise. Qin Nan stood at the bow of the boat and looked ahead. He saw a gate floating above the dojo at the center of the city. The gate was over 2,000 zhang tall and 600 zhang wide. It was made of some kind of ancient ore. There was a vortex inside the gate. The frame of the gate was carved with an expressionless portrait of Yi Zhaoxian. It was emitting a golden glow. It was a Dao-seeking weapon. 2 groups of cultivators were standing at the gate. They were all in the early stage of the Master Realm. They were wearing armor and were emitting a stern aura. When the boat arrived at the gate, a cultivator immediately stepped forward and brought his fists together. "Greetings, seniors. Please tell us who you are." Daoist Yu Mi and the others were not surprised. They did not seem displeased either. They quickly told the cultivators their background. When it was Qin Nan's turn, Qin Nan referred to himself as Lin Xiaotian. He was a rogue cultivator from the 25th small immortal realm. His master was the Saint Dharma King of Lun. The cultivator immediately questioned Qin Nan. He asked Qin Nan to drip a drop of blood into a jade box. He did not say anything after seeing nothing out of the ordinary. How strict? Qin Nan glanced at the jade box. He would have trouble passing the test if he had not practiced the heavenly chant of the Great Unity. Yi Zhaoxian and Song had put in a lot of effort just to deal with him. My lord, when Yi Zhaoxian was not involved in this matter, she spent a very long time studying the Tao of artifact refinement. Yi Zhaoxian was considered the best artifact forging expert in the 9 heavens immortal realm, Kasyapa of the ownerless heaven pattern said. Qin Nan transmitted his thought. Qin Nan nodded. Even though Qin Nan had gone through many hardships in the ancient era, he was confident that he was no weaker than Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian in terms of cultivation. He might even be stronger than them. However, Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian had mastered a lot of tricks and schemes. Qin Nan was no match for them. To Qin Nan's surprise, after his master had passed away, Lu Xiaoming took the initiative to chat with him after learning that he was a rogue cultivator. Even Yen Wushuang glanced at him and said straightforwardly, "The world is in chaos. I'm afraid Cultivator Lin won't be able to achieve anything on his own. Once everything is settled, Cultivator Lin can come to my place and have some tea. We can discuss martial arts." Qin Nan looked at him thoughtfully and nodded. The ship sailed into the Gate of Immortality. The Gate of Immortality could not teleport the cultivators directly to the battlefield of the divine aura. It only corresponded to a passage established by Yi Tsang's alliance to avoid the dangers in the Blue Dome. A few hours later, the ship arrived at the central profound realm of the Blue Dome. Chapter 2588. The faint golden glow was the power of rules. Their existence was the reason why the battlefield of God of Aura was full of rules. They were the reason why the terrifying creatures in the Blue Dome were not allowed to enter the battlefield of God of Aura. It was obvious that when Yi Zhaoxian was reincarnated, she was only a peak ruler realm cultivator. Yi Zhaoxian must have learned the secrets of the battlefield of God of Aura. She must have manipulated them to form the battlefield of God of Aura. The battlefield, if anyone was trying to establish a battlefield of God of Aura in the Blue Dome that was full of danger on their own, only a Supreme Highness could do it. They had to be knowledgeable, or at least a Supreme Highness in the Heaven Realm. The godly boat sailed into the golden glow. When the faint golden glow landed on Qin Nan immediately felt a strong repulsive force surging at him. When the battlefield of God of Aura was established, Yi Zhaoxian had set the rules that no one with the surname Qin in the 9 heavens immortal realm was allowed to enter the battlefield. The surname Qin was Qin Nan's first surname. It was closely related to the heavens and earth. Even though Qin Nan had changed his appearance and name, he was still affected by the rules. Transform! Qin Nan groaned in his heart. His body underwent a magical change. The repulsive force suddenly vanished as if it had lost its target. It followed the godly boat into the battlefield of God of Aura. Qin Nan raised his brows. After all, the aura that filled the green sky was completely different from the aura in the primary upper world. If a person with a lower cultivation rashly inhaled too much of it without dispersing it, it would even bring about extremely bad effects. However, the battlefield of God of Aura was full of pure qi. It was 10 times stronger than the first immortal realm. In addition to it, Qin Nan also sensed a mystical aura in the land below him. Every flower, grass, sand, and rock was emitting a mystical aura. This divine aura battlefield is indeed extraordinary. Yi Zhaoxian and Song Tsang have made a great contribution to the cultivation of the 9 heavens immortal realm by establishing the battlefield of divine aura, Qin Nan murmured. Suddenly, a feeling of being watched rose in his heart. He glanced in another direction and saw a black stone tablet that was 3 meters tall floating in the depths of the void. It was engraved with runes, and at the center of the tablet, there was an outline. It was in the shape of an eye. The eye of turbid heaven set up by Yi Zhaoxian was like a ghost, coldly observing everything that was happening on the divine aura battlefield. How did Meng Yao and the others plan to deal with this eye of chaos? Qin Nan transmitted to Cassiopeia. We speculate that one of the 9,999 eyes of turbid heaven is definitely the mother artifact, and the others can only be considered as child artifacts. If his guess was correct, as long as he found the mother artifact and tampered with it, those eyes of turbid heaven would not be able to do that, so that they could detect us in time. Cassiopeia answered. Qin Nan fell into deep thought. The godly boat picked up speed and continued forward. Qin Nan discovered many places of treasure along the way. He also saw rare phenomena. Many masters of Tao and even rulers of Tao were exploring the places and fighting one another. Most importantly, Qin Nan saw many strange creatures along the way. Some of the creatures had thin limbs but enormous heads. Some were covered in flames, some had 8 arms, etc. However, none of them were in the Master Realm or the greater success stage of the Ruler Realm. Yi Zhaoxian's idea of creating the battlefield of divine breath was the same as the Mountain of Origin in the Antiquity Age. She had encircled countless living creatures in the azure dome of heaven within the battlefield of divine breath, and then set the rules so that these living creatures could only display a certain amount of strength. In addition to it, the Battle of Heaven Highnesses in Tianqian would last for a month. The Nanshan battlefield and the Beigu battlefield in Tianqian would open a rift to bring in countless creatures from the Blue Dome. Their cultivation was suppressed to the ruler realm too. There would only be a few Heaven Highnesses at times. Otherwise, the scale of cultivation in the 9 heavens immortal realm would not be able to support so many rulers of Tao and Heaven Highnesses at the same time. Bang! Suddenly, a thunderous voice sounded in front of them. All the cultivators on the ship looked over in unison. They saw that not far away, the void shattered, and a huge ship that looked like an ancient divine dragon swam out of it. It moved forward with a strong aura. It was a Heaven Highness weapon. Qin Nan scanned the boat with his divine sense and saw a peak ruler of Tao, a greater success stage ruler, 3 rulers of Tao in the early stage, and 10 peak masters of Tao on the boat. Even though the formation was not as strong as Qin Nan and his crew, it was still quite impressive in the outer area of the Earth discus. TSK, it seems like they are already making their move. 72 heavenly dragon boats are patrolling the entire Earth discus. Yen Wushuang said. Qin Nan was startled. He asked, "Is this Yi Tsang's alliance's plan? Are they targeting Qin Nan's alliance?" Yen Wushuang nodded. he said proudly. It hasn't been made public yet, but everyone will know in a few days. It's not really a secret, so I don't mind telling you. The 72 heavenly dragon boats are Yi Tsang's alliance's plan. But that's not all. When the time comes, Yi Tsang's alliance will establish 72 heavenly palaces in the Earth Discus. Many experts will be stationed in each palace. 72 heavenly dragon boats will depart from the 72 heavenly palaces and patrol the entire Earth Discus during the Battle of Heaven Highnesses. If they discover anyone from Qin Nan's alliance, they will strike at lightning speed. Also, there are rumors that Tsang might send an incarnation to each ultimate sky dragon ship to help the sovereigns on board in order to deal with all kinds of transformation technique. When these words were spoken, other than a few people who were very calm, many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Do you think it's over? If that's the case, you're underestimating the means of two supreme exalts. Yan Wushuang grinned coldly. That's only the first plan. The second plan is even more impressive. The Battle of Heaven Highnesses in 9 days. Chapter 2589. A peak ruler who had no idea what was going on was startled. He said, "So Yi Tsang's alliance is going to station a strong army at the end of the Void Ancient Path to investigate every cultivator who is going to participate in the Battle of the Heavenly Venerables?" Yan Wushuang said, "That's right. Rumors have it that the cultivators stationed at the end of the Void Ancient Path are going to be huge. Yi Zhaoxian is going to send her clones to guard the place, not giving Qin Nan's alliance any chance to take advantage of the situation." Most of the cultivators on the ship were astounded. Even though Yi Tsang's alliance had gathered most factions and cultivators to target Qin Nan's alliance since the battlefield of Divine Aura was established, they had the biggest hand this time. They could sense Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang's determination from the short conversation. But the Battle of the Heavenly Venerables will last for a month. Yi Tsang's alliance has sent so many rulers to patrol the Void Ancient Path. If Qin Nan's alliance showed up a day later, they would have a chance to become a Heavenly Venerables. It's just a little less. A greater success, Master of Tao blurted out. "Kid, you don't understand the bigger picture." Yan Wushuang did not hide her disdain. "So what if the rulers can't become Heavenly Venerables? As long as they can kill Qin Nan and eliminate Qin Nan's alliance, everything will be worth it. Even if they can't kill Qin Nan, as long as they can stop Qin Nan from participating in the Battle of the Heavenly Venerables, or prevent him from becoming a Heavenly Venerables, do you think Qin Nan's alliance can stop Yi Tsang's alliance after Tsang becomes a Heavenly Venerables? Once Qin Nan's alliance is eliminated, who in the 9 heavens immortal realm can stand a chance against Yi Tsang's alliance? What was a powerhouse? It was a powerhouse. If that's the case, doesn't that mean Qin Nan's alliance doesn't stand a chance? Yeah, Qin Nan's alliance won't be able to do anything after learning about the plan. The outcome has been decided. Although Qin Nan is the reincarnation of 2 supreme heavenly venerables, he is still no match for a living supreme heavenly venerate. The cultivators on the ship were chatting with each other. At the same time, some of the cultivators quickly spread the news to their respective factions. Currently, most factions and rogue cultivators in the 9 heavens immortal realm were on Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang's side. However, some formidable factions chose to remain neutral instead. However, after this news spread, how many forces would remain neutral? Qin Nan couldn't help but take a deep breath. He felt as if Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang had weaved a giant net that covered the sky and covered the sun, and it was about to envelop him. What a good trick! A cold light flashed in Qin Nan's eyes as he frowned slightly. Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang's strength was on full display. They already knew what they were up to, but how were they supposed to deal with it? Right now, the power of the world, including all the chips, was on Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang's side, making it impossible for anyone to make a move. Yen Wushuang, since you know so much, I believe the Mumin sect has already joined Yitsang's alliance, right? Lu Xiaoming suddenly said. Many people were startled. Of course, Yen Wushuang nodded and admitted, joining Yitsang's alliance is the right choice. Who does Qin Nan think he is? He's no match for Yi Zhaoxian and Master Tsang. Qin Nan's alliance is doomed for sure. Qin Nan glanced at Yen Wushuang, who was deep in thought. Yen Wushuang glanced at Lu Xiaoming with a disdainful look. Lu Xiaoming, you should persuade your old man. What's so bad about joining Yitsang's alliance? Do you really think you're the strongest clan in history? Your old man should learn from your old man. Learn from your clan's second uncle and the others. Join Yitsang's alliance as soon as possible and you'll be able to get a share of the pie. It'll be too late by the time you wake up. Lu Xiaoming's eyes turned cold. You're joining Yitsang's alliance? You're just going to be Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang's dogs. Yen Wushuang sneered. When your tribe of immortal spirits is destroyed, it'll be too late even if you want to be a dog. Of course, that day won't come. Once I marry your sister, we'll be a family. Lu Xiaoming's eyes flashed with killing intent. He was about to say something when Lu Qinin patted his shoulder and smiled. Cultivator Yen, please don't be angry. It's just that the old man has his own considerations. He won't listen to us even if we try to persuade him. Yen Wushuang agreed and said, Qinin, you're a smart person. I'm sure you'll understand the situation. Don't worry, once I marry you, I'll ask my father to persuade the old man. Lu Qinin smiled and did not say anything else. The heavenly dragon ship left as quickly as it came. The people on the ship stopped talking after a brief discussion. 6 days left, huh? Qin Nan squinted. He then transmitted everything he knew to Princess Miao Miao and the others. Time gradually passed. 10 hours later, the ship arrived at the center of the Earth domain and arrived at the Sea Shaman Palace. An enormous illusionary figure of a divine tree was floating in the sky with the word immortal written on it. It was emanating a tremendous aura. It was a trap set up by the tribe of immortal spirits to prevent cultivators from other factions from trespassing. Below them was a light blue lake with a radius of a few 100,000 meters. Countless runes could be vaguely seen in the lake, forming a formation. At the center of the formation, a faintly discernible palace could be seen. Chapter 2590. Bang bang bang. After more than 1,000 explosions, the ship finally tore the barrier into pieces and sailed into the Sea Shaman Palace. The scene before everyone's eyes widened in an instant. It was a boundless pale golden sea. Countless unknown sea beasts were rolling on the surface of the sea, setting off waves after waves. Princess Lu, young Master Lu, and Senior Yu Miao, I'll be taking my leave first. Princess Lu, I'm going to collect the flowers. The cultivators on the ship were experienced, so they immediately calmed down and brought their fists together at Lu Qinin and the others. They turned into rays of light and disappeared into the sky. The cultivators swiftly left. Only Lu Qinin, the others, Qin Nan, Yen Wushuang, and the 2 peak rulers of the Mumin sect were left on the ship in the blink of an eye. After all, the tribe of immortal spirits had failed to claim the ancient jades with 5 peak rulers of immortal spirit. It was unnecessary for them to waste their time. Besides, they could also explore the Sea Shaman Palace while they were searching for the ancient flowers. They might find some great fortunate encounters too. Yo, Brother Lin Lao, why aren't you leaving? Are you confident that you can claim the 3 ancient jades? Yen Wushuang raised his brows when he saw Qin Nan was still around. Lu Qinin and the others were a little surprised. They glanced at Qin Nan too. Let's give it a try, maybe it'll work, Qin Nan shrugged. Not bad, not bad. You're much bolder than the group of people just now. I admire you very much. Yen Wushuang complimented Qin Nan like a senior. He did not realize he was only a peak master of Tao. Qin Nan's lips curled upward slightly. Do you admire me? Didn't you just say I'm going to die for sure? Senior Yu Miao, let's hurry up and set sail. I can't wait to take those 3 pieces of ancient jade. Yan Wushuang immediately urged. Taoist Yu Miao responded and activated the divine ship. Time passed. Along the way, Qin Nan sensed many places with obscure auras that might contain opportunities. However, he wasn't interested in them at all. He didn't even spend the slightest bit of energy to investigate them. The reason why Qin Nan didn't leave was because he couldn't do anything now. He could only quietly wait for Princess Miao Miao and the others to come up with a countermeasure. Of course, if time permits, he doesn't mind going to the big door of the Sea Witch Palace. Go behind the door and take a look. After all, other than the light of space-time and the immortal divine tablet from the primordial era, he had yet to visit the other places of opportunity in the Blue Dome. 4 hours later, the godly ship arrived at the depths of the Sea Witch Palace. A gray fog suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea in front of them. It sank to the bottom of the sea and reached the end of the sky, completely blocking their line of sight. Within the fog, there was a dilapidated ancient wall that was about 3,000 feet tall and 16,000 feet wide. The ancient wall was cast with some kind of light blue ore. There were no lines or pictures on the wall. It was just a simple wall. However, it seemed to have been baptized by endless years, giving off an inexplicable sense of vicissitude. Qin Nan's divine thought instantly probed the wall. Immediately, an incomparably loud beast roar sounded in his heart. The restriction contained in this wall is no small matter. It requires at least a supreme celestial master of the Yingtian realm to forcibly break it. Qin Nan understood and looked in another direction. There was a strange ancient tree that was 10,000 feet tall. The tree was tall and straight, with dense branches and leaves. Countless tree roots spread out on the surface of the sea, as if deeply embedded into the drops of water. At the top of the tree, 3 ancient jades floated. Each of them was the size of a palm and had a prismatic shape. The color of the jades was light blue, and there was a wisp of dark red in them, as if a drop of blood was locked in them. Although they didn't emit any aura, they were incomparably impressive. They were extraordinary. Yan Wushuang, make your move. I'd like to see what you've prepared today. How can you be so confident? Lu Xiaoming said coldly. Lu Xiaoming, don't talk to me like that. I'm going to be your brother-in-law soon. Yan Wushuang was full of confidence. He waved his hand and said, Do it. The 2 peak sovereigns of the Mumin sect who had been silent the entire time suddenly unleashed tremendous auras. They turned into 2 rays of light and charged toward the 3 ancient jades. Qin Nan saw this scene. The 2 peak sovereigns were extremely fast, like lightning. However, in Qin Nan's eyes, it was only considered ordinary. Therefore, Qin Nan could clearly see that when the 2 peak sovereigns were only 1,000 feet away from the ancient tree, the 3 ancient jades vibrated and emitted rays of light. They directly entered the void and disappeared without a trace. Qin Nan raised his eyebrows slightly. Even with his current cultivation, he could only vaguely sense where the 3 ancient jades had entered. The others naturally couldn't sense it. They only felt as if they had disappeared. The 2 peak sovereigns looked at each other and made a prompt decision. They punched the tree. There was a loud bang, but the tree didn't move at all. Not even a single leaf fell. Illusion technique. Qin Nan praised in his heart. It wasn't that the tree was very powerful, but that it didn't even exist. However, the illusion technique was too powerful. Even Qin Nan didn't notice it at first. The 2 peak sovereigns' faces darkened. They immediately retracted their auras and retreated back to the divine ship. After about 10 breaths, the 3 ancient jades flew back and landed on the top of the tree. They didn't care that they were being watched. You do have some skills. Don't waste your energy. Just use your trump card. Yan Wushuang immediately ordered. He formed a seal with one hand and slapped it forward. Chapter 2591. It's one of the 3 artifacts of the Mumin sect, the imprisoning Tao net. Legend says that if it's fully utilized, it can separate the heavens and earth and trap the great Tao. Lu Xiaoming wore a cold grin and said, "You didn't bring the rest of the artifacts, but you did bring this one instead. It seems like you're quite close with second uncle and the others." It was obvious that someone had already told Yan Wushuang about the details of the second stage, so he could prepare himself. It was the reason why Yan Wushuang was so confident. Lu Qimin let out a sigh in her heart. She did not say a word. "You're pretty quick to react. It seems like you're not that dumb after all." Yan Wushuang mocked as he pointed his finger forward. The 2 peak sovereigns immediately understood what he meant, and they simultaneously unleashed a vast power that entered the imprisoning Tao net. At that instant, a series of dragon cries echoed across the place. The imprisoning Tao net began to expand rapidly. It finally flew out and loomed over the ancient tree when it was over 10,000 zhang wide. The process of activating this treasure was obviously very powerful. Even from thousands of miles away, one could clearly feel it. However, the 3 mysterious ancient jades seemed not to have noticed anything. They floated above the treetop, motionless. They moved. Qin Nan clearly saw the 3 ancient jades awaken when the imprisoning Tao net arrived above them. They began to emit a glow as they tried to flee into the distance. However, the imprisoning Tao net seemed to have anticipated it. Each of the pitch-black wires emitted a shocking glow, illuminating the sky and the sea in a brilliant light. An unimaginable sealing force surged across the place. Bang! 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 The 3 ancient jades seemed to have collided with an invisible barrier. Before they could escape, the imprisoning Tao net had already enveloped them, completely locking them down and imprisoning them. There was no way for them to escape. Lu Xiaoming was startled. Following this, the glow emitted by the 3 jades became extremely brilliant, like 3 stars in the sky. They were unleashing shocking auras as they slammed into the imprisoning Tao net at a rate of over 100 times per breath. A series of explosions took place as the imprisoning Tao net trembled continuously. The faces of the 2 peak rulers of Tao reddened. They were the ones controlling the imprisoning Tao net, thus the pressure was affecting them too. "Young patriarch, we can't hold on any longer," one of the peak rulers groaned. "It's indeed not that easy. Luckily, we've prepared a backup plan." Yan Wushuang performed a hand seal. He took out a talisman and spat out a drop of blood on it. Bang! The surroundings changed color as the sea began to ripple. A magnificent illusionary figure floated out from the talisman, unleashing a tremendous aura. The Heaven Highness clone. Lu Xiaoming was startled. An Empyrean incarnation was different from an Empyrean will. The former required a large amount of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, as well as a large amount of the Empyrean's own blood essence. Only then could it be condensed into an incarnation that could display 50% of the Empyrean's strength. In order to obtain these 3 pieces of jade, the Mumin sect had paid a huge price. "So this is it?" the illusionary figure uttered thunderously. He made his move and inserted a formidable force into the imprisoning Tao net. At this moment, the entire imprisoning Tao net underwent a tremendous change. Every single pitch-black iron wire had actually transformed into a golden dragon thread, and the invisible sealing energy had taken form as well. It condensed into runes that covered the sky, and one after another, they surged towards the net. The runes landed on the 3 pieces of magical ancient jade. The 3 ancient jades let out a soft trembling sound, as if they were wailing. Even though they were still slamming into the imprisoning Tao net, it was obvious that their impact on the imprisoning Tao net had decreased by half. Even the 2 rulers of Tao's expression returned to normal. "Ha ha ha, Lu Xiaoming, did you see that? You'll have to call me brother-in-law soon." Yan Wushuang burst into laughter upon seeing this. She looked at Lu Qimin after scolding Lu Xiaoming. "Qimin, remember to call me husband instead." Lu Xiaoming's face turned pale. He clenched his fists tightly. The flicker in Lu Qingyin's eyes dimmed slightly too. Even though she had already prepared herself for it, she still could not help but have a bad feeling when the moment actually came. Qin Nan, who was watching the scene, raised his eyebrows all of a sudden. Countless red runes suddenly appeared on the surface of the three ancient jades that were being pushed back, causing them to burn like flames. A tremendous aura burst out from them. Bang bang bang! In the blink of an eye, Yan Wushuang and Lu Qinyin heard three shocking explosions. The three pieces of jades tore a hole in the imprisoning Dao net with brute force, leaving a hole with a circumference of 3 zhang wide. The two peak rulers of Dao immediately spat out mouthfuls of blood, as if they had suffered a great blow. Qin Nan wore a strange look when he noticed something. Don't tell me they are, holy crap! The three pieces of magical ancient jade spun in a circle, as if they were observing the crowd carefully. They suddenly turned into three tremendous rays of light before the imprisoning Dao net closed and entered Qin Nan's body. At this moment, the imprisoning Dao net merged together and trapped the tree. Yan Wushuang, Lu Qinyin, and the others immediately collected their thoughts and looked at Qin Nan. Their eyes were filled with astonishment, shock, astonishment, and even a sense of absurdity. Chapter 2592. What a surprise, we've all made a mistake. Yan Wushuang glared at Qin Nan and said, I didn't think Cultivator Lin would be able to conceal his strength so well. His plan of stalking the cicada while being unaware of the aureole behind it is so impressive. The young master of the Mumin sect, the son of a Heaven Highness, obviously did not believe the two pieces of jade would fly into Qin Nan's body on their own. Besides, he was still a little angry. He had never expected that a mere rogue cultivator would actually dare to scheme against him. Well done, Lu Xiaoming complimented. He felt like he had gotten his revenge. In his opinion, his sister was definitely going to find a Dao companion. This was already a foregone conclusion that could not be changed. However, as long as the partner was not Yan Wushuang, he would feel a lot better. Besides, this Lin Xiaotian had achieved the early stage of the ruler realm. His strength was not bad, and he had great potential. Lu Qingyin's eyes flickered with astonishment. Despite her intelligence, she did not expect it to happen. Cultivator Lin. Yan Wushuang withheld his anger and said coldly, You saw it yourself. The Mumin sect and my father have spent a lot of effort and resources on this matter. Therefore, can Cultivator Lin give the three pieces of jade to me? Feel free to tell us if you have any conditions. As long as it's within my means, I won't hesitate to fulfill them. The two peak rulers stared at Qin Nan coldly. They quickly went up to Qin Nan and surrounded him. Cultivator Lin, don't be threatened by him. Lu Xiaoming blurted out, As long as you give the three pieces of jade to my sister, you will be her partner and a member of the tribe of immortal spirits. No matter what the Mumin sect does, we will be able to protect them. You have my word. Qin Nan wore a helpless look. Why did no one believe him when he was telling the truth these days? He never thought of claiming the three pieces of jade for himself. He only wanted to take a look inside the wall after it was opened. He would then teach the people of the Mumin sect a lesson when the time was right. But now all of his plans had been scrapped. Qin Nan looked at Yan Wushuang and smiled faintly. These three pieces of ancient jade flew to me of their own accord, which means that they are fated with me. Therefore, I don't plan to give them to you. Qin Nan glanced at Lu Xiaoming, Lu Qinyin, and the others and said, On top of that, I can give you the three ancient jades, but I'll have to go inside after the walls are opened. I won't marry Princess Lu either. Everyone present was stunned. No one had expected Qin Nan to say such words. Everyone knew that Lu Qinyin was an outstanding beauty with outstanding talent. Not to mention the influence of the tribe of immortal spirits, there was no cultivator in the world who would not be willing to marry her. Are you serious? Lu Zhaoming wondered if he had heard wrong. Of course, Qin Nan nodded. He did not forget to add, very seriously. Someone else was even more confused than Lu Zhaoming. It was none other than Yan Wushuang. If you aren't going to marry Princess Lu, why don't you give me the 3 pieces of jade? I'll let you go inside after the walls are opened, Yan Wushuang blurted out. Lu Qinin and the others realized the same thing upon hearing his words. The man was clearly going to offend Yan Wushuang and the Mumin sect. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't do that. Qin Nan glanced at him and said calmly, "Why would I give them to you if I don't like you?" As soon as Zhang Xian said those words, a buzzing sound echoed in Yan Wushuang's head. The rage in his heart suddenly flared up, and a savage look surfaced on his face. "You don't like me? Very well, you're the first person in the 9 heavens immortal realm to treat me like this. You're treating my people like this. If that's the case, don't blame me for what I'm about to do. Kill him and tear him into pieces." Even though the 2 peak rulers of Dao did not have a good impression of Yan Wushuang, Qin Nan was looking down on him. He was obviously looking down on the Mumin sect too. Hearing Yan Wushuang's words, the 2 of them immediately unleashed their overflowing auras. Die! The 2 peak rulers of Dao immediately executed their strongest move. One executed a sword art, while the other executed a powerful sealing art of the Mumin sect. Both of their moves were extraordinarily powerful. In the blink of an eye, before the 2 peak rulers of Dao could reach Qin Nan had already made his move. Qin Nan arrived in front of the peak ruler of Dao within an instant. The man's eyes widened slightly. Qin Nan threw a punch forward with a destructive force, blasting the peak ruler of Dao into a rain of blood. The other peak ruler of Dao was startled. However, before he could react, Qin Nan suddenly appeared in front of him. The shadow of the punch enlarged rapidly in his eyes. Bang! The other peak ruler of Dao was killed instantly. You! Yan Wushuang's body trembled violently as his eyes widened. The scene before him was like a peerless thunderclap that exploded in his mind. However, before he could say another word, Qin Nan threw a slap at him. The slap left a huge gap on the surface of the ocean. However, Yan Wushuang, who was in the Master Realm, turned into ashes without leaving a single drop of blood behind. He turned into nothingness. A massacre, clean and tidy. Qin Nan did not hold back. He did not plan to let the 3 peak rulers of Dao go. After all, the Mumin sect had sided with Yi Zhaoxian and the Tsang Alliance. There was no need for him to go easy on them. Yu, Lu Qimin and the others were dumbfounded upon seeing this. 2 peak rulers of Dao were crushed to death like ants. How strong was he to be able to do that? Where did this rogue cultivator come from? Chapter 2593. It's you. Lu Zhaoming was even more astounded. He subconsciously took a step back. Even though he had only met Qin Nan once, he was too familiar with Qin Nan's face. He would often think of Qin Nan every night over the years. Qin Nan. Daoist Yu Miao was astounded too. Everyone in the 9 heavens immortal realm knew Qin Nan was going to take part in the battlefield of God Aura, yet it felt different when they saw him in person. Lu Qimin was startled. It took her some time to collect her thoughts. Her eyes flickered with a complicated look. It's indeed been a while. She hesitated for a moment before bowing at Qin Nan and saying, "I was being unreasonable in the past and kept picking on you. I hope you won't hold it against me and give me a chance to make up for it." Qin Nan waved his hand and said, "Forget about it. I've already paid you back for messing up your marriage." Lu Zhaoming finally collected his thoughts. His face reddened as he yelled, "Qin Nan!" Lu Qingyin's expression shifted as a thought crossed her mind. She immediately snapped, "Lu Zhaoming, calm down. You were the one that caused all the trouble. Cultivator Qin had no choice but to pick on you. Before she could finish, Lu Zhaoming clenched his teeth and went up to Qin Nan. He bowed at him and said, Even though you taught me a lesson, and I still feel uncomfortable even now, I can't help but be grateful to you. If you taught me a lesson, I'm afraid I won't be able to come back to my senses and end up making a huge mistake. Lu Xiaoming felt a lingering fear after he came to a realization. If he was still as frivolous as before, he might have offended the authorities of the tribe of immortal spirits in the current chaotic era. As such, he was sincerely grateful to Qin Nan. Lu Qimin let out a relieved sigh. She smiled at Qin Nan and said, "Speaking of which, our tribe of immortal spirits really owes you a favor. If it wasn't for you, Xiaoming wouldn't have ended up like this. When my father heard about this, he mentioned it many times. I must thank you in person." Taoist Yu Miao's expression changed. "Princess, watch your words." Qin Nan glanced at him. He raised his hand and shot out a beam of light. Taoist Yu Miao immediately felt waves of sealing power descending from the heavens and earth, making him unable to speak. He could not even transmit his divine consciousness. "Taoist Yu Miao, I have no intention of becoming enemies with the race of immortal spirits, but I also don't want news of my arrival to spread. So, I'll have to trouble you," Qin Nan said coolly. "Don't try to forcibly remove the seal. I won't be polite." Taoist Yu Miao glared at Qin Nan. However, he quickly calmed down when he recalled how terrifying Qin Nan's strength was. He nodded with a troubled expression. "Princess Lu, can you take out the 2 pieces of jade?" Qin Nan asked. Lu Qinyin took out the 2 pieces of jade without any hesitation. Qin Nan took out the 3 pieces of jade too. He inspected them carefully and tapped on one of them. The 5 pieces of jade immediately merged into an ancient pattern and flew toward the wall. The pattern suddenly flickered. The silent wall instantly emitted beams of light, and a tunnel was torn open in the middle, from which a primordial aura leaked out. Lu Qimin suddenly said, "Xiaoming, you should stay here and keep Elder Yu Miao company. I'll go in with Cultivator Qin." Lu Xiaoming panicked. He said, "Sister, why? I want to go in too." Before he could finish, Lu Qimin glared fiercely at him, causing his heart to tremble. He didn't say anything and just nodded silently. Qin Nan did not care about the siblings' arrangement. He roughly sensed the surroundings and said, "There's more to this place than meets the eye. Princess Lu, with your cultivation, you're most likely going to die if you go in there." Lu Qimin brushed her hair aside and said with a gentle smile, "Cultivator Qin, thank you for telling me. However, since your cultivation has improved significantly, I believe you can resolve the situation with ease if you encounter any danger." Lu Qimin was behaving like a little woman when she said the words. She had a hint of seductiveness to her. Qin Nan simply ignored her and said, "I won't save you." Qin Nan walked toward the wall. Meanwhile, the badges in his storage bag began to glow. They were from Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and the others. Qin Nan glanced at the badges. He frowned slightly, but his frown soon disappeared. Lu Qimin was not mad. She followed behind Qin Nan. After stepping into the passageway in the wall, what appeared in front of them was a long blood-red path that ran through the darkness, leading to an unknown destination. The two walked on the path in silence. After some time, Lu Qimin asked softly, "Song and Yi Zhaoxian have set up a trap for you. How are you going to break out of it?" Qin Nan said with a calm smile without turning his head, "I've already come up with a plan, but I can't possibly tell you, right?" Lu Qimin giggled and said, "You're right. I have to admit, Song and Yi Zhaoxian are extremely terrifying. When I first heard the news, I had to ponder for a long time before coming up with 2 plans." Qin Nan raised his brows and said, "Oh?" Lu Qimin said, "Song and Yi Zhaoxian have set up 72 immortal palaces and 72 heavenly dragon boats to patrol the area. They have established 10 void ancient paths on the heavenly Qian mountain to guard each of them. As such, it's necessary to create chaos. Chaos is the only way to take advantage of the situation." The first plan is to ask the rulers of Tao in your alliance to split into a dozen groups and ambush the 72 immortal palaces, the 72 heavenly dragon boats, and the void ancient paths to trigger a huge battle. That way, you'll be able to avoid being exposed. Chapter 2594. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment. He had to admit that Lu Qinin was indeed a smart woman. Unfortunately, Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan were telling him how to get out of the situation. It was basically the same as Lu Qinin's suggestion. Of course, it might seem like you have two choices, but you don't actually have a choice. You only have one choice, Lu Qinin said. Qin Nan said calmly, "Why do you say that?" Lu Qinin looked at Qin Nan from the side. Her eyes flickered as if she was able to see through him. The first option I mentioned is great. It can get you out of the trap set up by Yi Zhaoxian and Song, but what if that's the case, many sovereigns in your alliance will die because of you. If it were Yi Zhaoxian and Song, they wouldn't care at all, but you care a lot about it. You won't do it, right? Qin Nan raised his brows. He looked into her eyes and said, "It seems like you know me very well." Lu Qinin turned around and said, "I'm not the only one who knows you. Yi Zhaoxian and Song know you very well too. That's why Yi Zhaoxian and Song are so terrifying. They have given you two choices, but they are sure you will choose the second option. If you choose the second option, you will be walking right into their trap. By then, Earth Domain and Heavenly Qian will be filled with enemies. Even though you are quite strong now, do you really think you can clear a path so easily? Even if you clear a path and mess up the situation to ascend to Heavenly Qian, you won't have the strength to face the rulers of Heavenly Qian by then. Besides, Song is still in Heavenly Qian. It's best if Yi Zhaoxian and Song can kill you. Even if they can't kill you, they will be done for as long as they can stop you from achieving the Heaven Highness realm." Qin Nan didn't say anything. He just stopped in his tracks. Lu Qinin continued, "As a matter of fact, I would like to advise you to choose the first option because you're using yourself as bait to disrupt the situation. It won't do you any good, and you'll be putting yourself in danger instead. This will bring opportunities to the other sovereigns of the alliance. However, even if the rulers of your alliance become celestial exalts, what's the point? Which one of them can contend with Yi Zhaoxian and Song? If you don't become a celestial venerate, then everything is just empty talk." Lu Qinin paused for a moment before she said in a gentle tone, "I know it's painful for you to choose the first option, but it's the price you have to pay to become an authority. What's more, there is only one truth. Only by ensuring that you become a celestial venerate will your alliance have hope of victory. I believe the sovereigns of your alliance are aware of it, and they are willing to do it." Qin Nan recalled Heaven Highness Ling Huang's voice. The old patriarch of the Sky Tai Huang sect told Qin Nan firmly that they were willing to sacrifice themselves as long as he could bring them hope and a future for the next generation. Qin Nan suddenly burst out laughing. He said, "I'm a little confused. I might have helped your brother coincidentally, but it doesn't make us that close, does it? Why do you want me to win so badly?" Lu Qinin shook her head and said, "You're wrong, it's not that I want you to win, but my father is the same as the alliance of the Li clan and the Wang clan, the ancient Bodhi temple, and the others. He doesn't want the Nine Heavens immortal realm to fall into Tsang's or Yi Zhaoxian's hands. The Nine Heavens immortal realm balance is the best way to achieve it." Qin Nan said after a slight hesitation, "If balance is what you want, Song and Yi Zhaoxian will fall out with each other after they achieve the Supreme Highness realm. Isn't that what you want?" Lu Qinin smiled and said, "If I can guess your personality, and Song and Yi Zhaoxian can guess it too, how could the authorities of the other factions not know? Even though they think you're a little silly, you're better than Song and Yi Zhaoxian. Song and Yi Zhaoxian are much better." Qin Nan's lips twisted. Was she complimenting him or scolding him? You will know my choice in a few days, Qin Nan said calmly. He continued forward. Lu Qimin let out a deep sigh in her heart. She did not say anything further. The two of them walked forward for about 6 hours, and in the vast darkness, there were more and more lights, and as they went deeper, there were more and more lights. The two suddenly felt like they were walking on an ancient path of time, as if they had experienced countless changes of time and space. Finally, the light in front of them disappeared. It was replaced by a forest. The trees in this place were extremely tall, ranging from a few thousand feet tall to several tens of thousands of feet tall. Every single one of them seemed to have existed for an extremely long time. Their bark was slightly black, and there were crisscrossing lines on them, making them look extremely ancient. Qin Nan and Lu Qinyin both felt something was not right. When they looked up, they only felt that every big tree was lush with leaves and lush green, making them feel as if they were in a sea of trees. However, in such a scene full of vitality, there was a sense of deathly stillness. Lu Qinyin went forward and touched one of the trees. She said softly, "They are all incredibly powerful trees, significantly stronger than any tree in the 9 heavens immortal realm, but they have lost their souls, as if they were possessed by some kind of power. It's as if it was forcefully taken away. Everything had a spirit, and everything had a soul." Qin Nan nodded. He flew a few 100,000 zhang into the sky. He looked down and saw a boundless ocean of trees in all directions. The size of the forest had greatly exceeded his imagination. There are so many trees here, yet none of them have a soul? Qin Nan was slightly startled. He sat down with his legs crossed and unleashed a strong sense of perception. Chapter 2595. The aura was ancient, obscure, blurry, and mysterious. It did not belong to the 9 heavens immortal realm. It was coming from the distance like some kind of fragrance. Qin Nan immediately chased after the wisp of aura. Lu Qinyin pursed her lips when she saw this. She activated a talisman and followed behind him. Half an hour later, Qin Nan came to a stop. The sea of trees below him was the same as before. Judging from the scenery, it was the same as before. However, this time, even Lu Qinyin could sense an invisible aura looming over the trees within 1,000 li. It was quite stifling to the people around her. Qin Nan's eyes emitted a mystical glow. He took a closer look and murmured, "Is it an illusion?" Qin Nan glanced at Lu Qinyin and said, "Are you sure you want to follow me? It's going to be very dangerous." Lu Qinyin nodded without any hesitation. Qin Nan did not say anything further. He performed a hand seal and summoned an illusionary mountain above the sea of trees within 1,000 li bang. Following that, a huge boom rang out as all of the ancient trees were crushed into pieces. The ground within 1,000 miles began to shatter layer by layer. When the ground was 3,000 feet deep, the mountain seemed to have struck some sort of heavy object, and shattered into pieces with a bang. Qin Nan's attack was comparable to the full-powered attack of a Heaven Highness in the Greater Success stage. It could easily penetrate over 10,000 zhang into the ground. However, it was blocked with ease. Qin Nan's figure sank into the pit. He soon discovered a bronze slab over 3 li wide at the bottom of the pit. It was carved with strange runes, emitting a desolate aura. Lu Qinyin quickly followed him. She looked at the slab and probed, "Is this an artifact from the Blue Dome?" Qin Nan shook his head and said, "I'm not sure. It might be an artifact or something else. Anyway, let's activate it first." Nan waved his hand. A magnificent force immediately surged into the slab. Whoosh! La la! The sound of rolling waves echoed in their ears, as the deadly silent bronze slab suddenly emitted a blinding glow, which encapsulated Qin Nan and his companion like the mouth of a giant beast. Qin light flashed in Nan's eyes, and he transformed into his origin body. However, he did not block the attack. Tight following which, a feeling of traveling through space arose in their hearts. After several dozen breaths, the two of them felt lighter. It was obvious that the bronze slate was a kind of teleportation formation that allowed them to enter the depths of the Sea Shaman Palace. However, at this moment, Qin Nan didn't even have time to look around before a sense of danger suddenly rose in his heart. Almost without any hesitation, he formed many layers of divine light around his body to protect himself. Boom! God, the light shattered in an instant, and an extremely fast beam of light hit Qin Nan's chest, immediately sending Qin Nan flying. A sense of pain immediately rose in Qin Nan's heart. It should be known that Qin Nan's physical body had reached an extremely extraordinary level. To be able to hurt him, one would need at least the power of an ordinary peak heavenly master. Speak! Before Qin Nan could stabilize his body, he formed a demon seal, and the immortal demon realm suddenly rose behind him. Black light rotated and demonic intent filled the sky. Qin Nan's figure also flew into the immortal demon realm. Boom! Boom boom! A series of attacks like a torrential rain constantly hit the immortal demon realm, causing it to tremble violently. Qin Nan was not in a hurry. Instead, he stabilized his body and looked ahead. This was a strange scene. A pitch-black land with a radius of only 10,000 miles, like a small island, was suspended in a grayish-white space. Just the thing that was attacking Qin Nan was a giant formed by the mysterious aura that Qin Nan had sensed before. It was pitch-black, with 3 heads and 6 arms. It was over 10,000 zhang tall, and was emitting a blood-red murderous aura. Zilu Qinin seemed to be in luck. Even though she was not far away from Qin Nan, the terrifying giant only had its eyes on Qin Nan. Its 6 thick arms turned into afterimages as it unleashed a series of shocking blows. Qin Nan immediately turned into a ray of light and charged out of the immortal demon realm to counterattack instead of backing away. The terrifying giant let out a roar. It clenched its fists and threw a punch at Qin Nan. Qin Nan unleashed a sacred glow behind him as he received the attack with a punch. Bang bang bang! A strong gust of wind surged in all directions. The pitch-black land began to tremble vigorously. Lu Qingyin had already collected her thoughts. Her face was slightly pale. Even though she could not help but feel intimidated by the force of the collision, she quickly reacted. She summoned an exquisite pagoda to protect herself as she rose into the air. She managed to avoid the battle by a hair's breadth. Qin Nan and the terrifying giant were simply too quick. They could not even see their afterimages. They could only vaguely see 2 rays of light colliding with one another on the pitch-black land. In less than 10 breaths, the pitch-black land was in a complete mess, as if it was going to shatter into pieces. Meanwhile, Lu Qinin heard the word slash. A brilliant saber glow suddenly appeared above the pitch-black land. The shocking collisions gradually dissipated. When the brilliant saber glow finally dissipated, Lu Qinin finally saw Qin Nan sticking his saber into the chest of the terrifying giant like a deity descending from the heavens. Then, the giant's struggling body gradually calmed down. Finally, it shattered inch by inch, turning into black light that filled the sky and disappeared without a trace. What a pity, you haven't developed your own intelligence. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to slay you so easily, Qin Nan said calmly. Following. Chapter 2596. Lu Qinin calmed her thoughts and flew closer to Qin Nan. She did not disturb Qin Nan. From the moment she entered this place, with her current cultivation, there was almost nothing she could do. If it weren't for Qin Nan, she had no idea when she would discover the strange forest. Even if she did discover it, she was going to die without Qin Nan's help. She had been taking a gamble when she decided to go deeper into the Sea Shaman Palace. She was betting her life on it. If she failed, she would die. She would not have to become a stranger's partner. If she succeeded, she would be able to unilaterally cancel the selection of a son-in-law. However, since Qin Nan showed up out of nowhere, everything was going well for her. She did not have to become someone's partner. She also had a chance of finding the fortunate encounters deep inside the Sea Shaman Palace. It reminded her of the words she heard from a blind old man when she went to an immortal city around a year ago. She was going to be reborn in a place related to the ocean. She did not think much of it until she stumbled into the Sea Shaman Palace. She suddenly had a glimpse of hope. Was the blind old man some kind of otherworldly expert? Of course, that was only a glimmer of hope. As the princess of the tribe of immortal spirits, a woman who was wise but seemed foolish, she did not place all her hopes on that one sentence. However, the glimmer of hope was a lot bigger now. It seems like I have no choice but to give it a try, Qin Nan suddenly murmured. He did not ask for Lu Qingyin's opinion. Wisps of sacred light emitted from his back and slowly wrapped around his right arm. What are you doing? Before Lu Qinyin could ask the question, she saw Qin Nan throwing a punch at the pitch-black ground. Bang! The whole place trembled. The pitch-black ground began to shake vigorously too. In the end, it began to crack and collapse as if it could no longer endure the force. The ground ceased to exist after 10 breaths. What's that? Lu Qinyin lowered her gaze. Her eyes widened. Qin Nan's eyes flickered too. This was an even more bizarre scene. Below them, there was an inverted valley. Moreover, this inverted valley could only be seen from within a radius of 10,000 miles. It was as if Qin Nan and Yi Shiwen were observing the outside world through a small opening in a door. The world on the other side was the same. Everything in this valley was pitch black, giving people a feeling of death. One could vaguely see that there were a few mountain peaks that pierced straight into the boundless dark clouds. Qin Nan immediately sank without any hesitation. Lu Qinyin quickly collected her thoughts and followed behind him. The moment the two of them stepped into the valley, they felt as if the world was spinning around them. The scene before their eyes changed abruptly. In their eyes, the valley turned from upside down to normal. Instead, the ground beneath their feet seemed to be hanging upside down in a different dimension. The moon reflected in the mirror. Qin Nan also sensed a strange aura of death surging toward Qin Nan like a starving wolf that had stumbled into food. Qin Nan unleashed his sacred will to keep the aura 3 zhang away. Qin Nan looked into the surroundings. The valley was formed by 6 mountains of different heights. There were no trees or flowers on the mountains, only cold, black rocks. The valley covered an area with a circumference of 30,000 li. It had a few dozen ancient trees that were dark red in color. There was not a single leaf on them. They were completely bare, giving the place a desolate look. This place seems to be a complete world, Qin Nan murmured after sensing his surroundings. A complete small world and an independent small space were completely different. The former had all kinds of complete basic rules and was very vast, while the latter only had certain basic rules and was not very big. Qin Nan casually fired a ray of light. When it reached a height of 10,000 zhang, it suddenly shattered into pieces as if it had collided with an invisible wall. As I thought, Qin Nan nodded. He had sensed some pressure just then. It was similar to the situation in the tomb of the immortal emperor in the Great Evolution World Mountain, so he decided to test it out. A powerful force had sealed off the valley. In other words, it was impossible to fly out of the valley. That being said, if Qin Nan was as strong as when he was Lin Xiao, he could give it a try too. You can take a look around the valley. Perhaps you can find something. Of course, it might be dangerous too, Qin Nan said. He continued forward without looking at Lu Qinyin. The valley was obviously hiding some secrets, but it was impossible to tell what they were. They could only rely on such a clumsy method to discover them. Lu Qinyin calmed her thoughts and made her way to the trees. When she arrived before the first tree and placed her hand on it, A sliver of surprise flickered through her eyes. She then channeled a strand of pure energy into the tree. The ancient tree immediately shuddered and emitted a faint glow. "What's the secret of these ancient trees?" Qin Nan went up to her and asked. "I can sense that these ancient trees are all connected together, as if they're sealing something." Lu Qingyin blushed and said embarrassedly, "But my strength is too weak. I can't break the seal." Qin Nan nodded. He immediately inserted a shocking force into Lu Qingyin's body. Lu Qingyin immediately directed the force into the ancient trees. In the blink of an eye, strange symbols appeared on the bark of the dozens of ancient trees, emitting different glows. Chapter 2597. They were green crystals around the size of a fingernail. Their color was so green that it had surpassed the limit. It was indescribable with words. After these crystals rose into the air, they began to rapidly draw close to each other as if there was some sort of attraction between them. Then, they began to fuse together one by one. When the fusion was complete, an extremely dazzling green light suddenly erupted from the valley, illuminating the surroundings with a green light. At that instant, Qin Nan could sense that the deadly silence in the valley was gone, as it began to recover its vitality. Various kinds of trees and flowers began to grow vigorously from the ground and rocks, and finally turned into a place of trees and flowers. A sea. The green glow soon dissipated, allowing Qin Nan to recover. "It can affect my mind?" Qin Nan was shocked. His mind was comparable to a Supreme Highness's. The green crystals in front of him were no longer there. They were replaced by a roulette. The roulette covered an area with a circumference of a zhang. It was illusionary, somewhere between ethereal and real. Its surface was covered in thousands of obscure runes. It was difficult to see them clearly. It did not unleash any aura. It only existed quietly in the valley while emitting wisps of green light. Qin Nan suddenly sensed the vast dragon-proof seal in his soul, shuddering all of a sudden. It actually triggered a reaction from the vast dragon-proof seal? Could it be that the illusionary roulette is also a top-tier artifact in the Blue Dome? Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. He immediately unleashed his cultivation. His eyes emitted a godly glow as he stared at the illusionary roulette. Somewhere, Qin Nan saw a life force. The life force was different from ordinary life force. It seemed to be able to nurture everything, as if it was the source of everything. It was similar to Qin Nan's primary force. Qin Nan immediately made his move. He summoned a giant hand and grabbed at the illusionary roulette. However, the moment the giant hand was about to land, the illusory wheel trembled slightly and released a formless power that shattered the hand into pieces. However, the illusionary roulette seemed to be sentient. It burst into Lu Qingyin's body at lightning speed. Lu Qingyin's figure immediately emitted wisps of green light, making her feel sacred. Lu Qingyin's face was filled with astonishment. Judging from how the illusionary wheel had appeared, it clearly possessed an extraordinary origin. It was a precious artifact. She just didn't expect it to choose her of its own accord. "It seems like you are fated to be with this wheel," Qin Nan said. He wasn't embarrassed, nor was he envious. He did not have much of a relationship with Lu Qinyin. They even had a conflict in the past. If possible, he would not give the illusionary roulette to Lu Qinyin. If he couldn't, then there was nothing else he could do. "Qin Nan, I'm sorry, I really didn't expect it to choose me. It's supposed to be yours," Lu Qinyin said apologetically. Lu Qinyin wore an apologetic look. Even though she wanted to alter her fate, she had never dreamed of obtaining such a great fortune. Besides, she also believed the artifact should belong to Qin Nan. After all, Qin Nan had come all the way here on his own. She did not do anything apart from awakening the tree. "You don't have to apologize, it's supposed to be yours," Qin Nan said with a smile. "However, this roulette seems to be related to the secrets of life. It's very suitable for the tribe of immortal spirits. Can you tell me what you've comprehended? Will you share it with me? Princess Meow Meow? Of course, Lu Qinin nodded without any hesitation. Qin Nan was slightly surprised. If it was someone else, they might have pretended to decline the offer or come up with all sorts of conditions. After all, the illusionary roulette was no ordinary roulette. It would be extremely shocking if it was able to comprehend anything from it. She seems to have a good personality. Qin Nan's impression of Lu Qinin had changed. However, it was to be expected. Qin Nan never knew Lu Qinin well. When he first met Lu Qinin, they were only enemies. They would only fight each other whenever they met. However, this illusionary roulette doesn't seem to be in good condition. It seems to have been shattered by someone before. It has only recovered its original form. I'm afraid I won't be able to comprehend anything for now, Lu Qinin said in an embarrassed tone. It's fine, there's no rush, Qin Nan waved his hand. He soon frowned. It seemed like the illusionary roulette was indeed an incredible artifact. The fact that it was able to trigger a reaction from the vast dragon-proof seal indicated how extraordinary it was when it was at its peak. But why was it shattered into pieces? Besides, was it shattered when it was following the master of the Blue Dome before the Blue Dome was built? Or was it shattered after the Blue Dome was built? It would be rather unusual if it was the latter. The person who shattered the roulette must be an extremely terrifying existence, who would surely cause a huge commotion. When Qin Nan went back to the ancient era, he did not hear anyone mentioning that a great battle had taken place in the Blue Dome. Did that mean it had only been shattered after the battle between the four supreme heavenly venerates? Who exactly was the person that shattered the roulette? Cultivator Qin, I'm going to cultivate in seclusion here. Lu Qinin looked at Qin Nan with a charming smile and said, Can I trouble Cultivator Qin to keep an eye on me for a while? It's nothing. Qin Nan flicked his finger and unleashed a godly glow to establish a formation. Lu Qinin expressed her gratitude. She walked to the center of the formation and sat down with her legs crossed. She was indescribably overjoyed. She knew the Nine Heavens' immortal realm was going to fall into chaos in the future. Chapter 2598. She was astounded when she recalled the old senior's words. She did not expect someone like him to exist in the Nine Heavens' immortal realm. The old senior had predicted everything. He knew she would stumble into Qin Nan here, and that Qin Nan would provide her with the fortunate encounter. I wonder if I can find the old senior again, Lu Qinin murmured. She went into seclusion. Seeing this, Qin Nan could not come up with an answer for the time being, thus he continued to walk forward. There were many hidden places in the valley. It was surely not just an illusionary wheel. As it turned out, Qin Nan's speculation was right. He spent almost a day and a night walking around the entire valley, trying to sense his surroundings. He also found more than 20 hidden places. However, Qin Nan only took out pieces of the artifacts when he opened up the hidden places. Some were the size of a palm, while others were over 1,000 zhang long. Unlike the illusionary wheel, they were all dead still. Even when Qin Nan inserted a strong force into them, they did not react at all. It was obvious that they had completely broken into pieces. They had lost their mystical appearance. Their only value was their sturdiness. However, it did not mean he did not come back empty-handed. Judging from the presence of the pieces, Qin Nan could easily imagine that a great battle had taken place in the past. It must have been a fierce battle between the artifacts. Let's take a look at the mountains. Qin Nan went to the first mountain after collecting the pieces. Time gradually passed. Another day was gone in the blink of an eye. Qin Nan went from the first mountain to the last one. He did not find anything during the process. He did not even sense a single piece of the artifacts. If it weren't for the strange aura of the mountains, Qin Nan would even consider giving them to him. Let's take a look. Finally, when Qin Nan was about to reach the peak of the last mountain, he suddenly saw a cave. It was about 20 feet high and 10 feet wide, and there was an extremely soft dripping sound coming from inside. Qin Nan immediately walked in. Although the cave wasn't big, it was very deep. Qin Nan walked for more than 10,000 feet before he saw a faint blue light in the darkness ahead. Qin Nan picked up his pace, and soon caught sight of an iron well at the top of the cave, which was the source of the light. Qin Nan observed with his eye technique, but the aura of the iron well felt like a thick fog, preventing him from seeing it clearly. Qin Nan's eyes flashed, and he immediately formed a giant hand to grab him. Just as Qin Nan had expected, another change occurred. A shocking aura was suddenly released from within. Qin Nan immediately retreated. He activated his cultivation method and was ready to attack. A gray light burst out from the iron well and turned into a human figure. The figure was blurry, but Qin Nan could roughly tell that it was an old man. How powerful! Qin Nan's figure tensed. The old man's aura made him feel like he was facing an existence that had surpassed the Supreme Highness realm. As Qin Nan was about to make his move, the illusionary old man scanned the surroundings and saw Qin Nan. He burst out laughing without hesitation. Ha ha ha, it's all changed, it's all changed. You bunch of... Before he could finish, the old man's figure suddenly exploded into light dots. Qin Nan was startled. Is that a wisp of will that was attached to the iron well? Qin Nan frowned. Who was the old man? Was he the weapon spirit of the illusionary wheel, some artifact, or some special existence inside the blue dome? Most importantly, what the old man had said earlier was the most important thing. Everything had changed, everything had changed. Who had changed? Who was the you he was referring to? The blue sky dome is truly shrouded in mystery. It's a pity that if one hasn't achieved the Supreme Highness realm, they won't be able to explore the upper profound realm in the blue dome. Qin Nan shook his head. As a matter of fact, with Qin Nan's current cultivation, he would soon achieve the Supreme Tao realm after achieving the Heaven Highness realm. Even though it was extremely dangerous to enter the upper profound realm, it was not impossible to explore. It was just a narrow escape. However, there were still a few terrifying artifacts deep inside the blue dome. If he was too high profile and caught the attention of the artifacts, it would not end well for him. I was so focused on Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian that I almost forgot about the artifacts. Qin Nan suddenly broke out in cold sweat. He was now in the blue dome. When he became a heavenly venerable, would the artifacts be able to sense it? Would they come to kill him? He had to consider this question. Qin Nan stood in place, motionless. After thinking carefully for 2 hours, he slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He already had a general idea in his heart. Let's see if I can take this iron well. Qin Nan looked forward and made his move again. This time there were no surprises. Qin Nan directly took the iron well. Qin Nan tried to inject a force into the iron well. The blue light released by the latter immediately became thicker, and the empty bottom of the well suddenly splashed, forming a water surface. Qin Nan poked his head out to take a look, and a hint of surprise immediately appeared in his eyes. There was actually an image in the well. It was an azure sky, and there were a few towering mountains in the distance. What was going on? Could it be that the iron well was connected to another world? Qin Nan pondered for a moment, before he flew into the well with a flicker. However, the water in the well suddenly fluctuated violently. It emitted an invisible force that bounced his body out of the well. Qin Nan tried a few other methods, but the outcome was the same. He failed to enter the well. So this iron well is completely useless? Qin Nan was a little speechless. Forget it, I'll put it away for now. He was not going to waste his time here. Qin Nan walked out of the cave. He lowered his head and looked at Lu Qinin, who was cultivating in seclusion in the distance. He then looked up at the gray sky above. Chapter 2599. Time gradually passed. 3 days were gone fairly quickly. There were only 3 days left until the Battle of the Heaven Highnesses in Tianqian. For example, today, the experts from the various major forces, as well as the many rogue cultivators, had traveled through the 10 great immortal sects to arrive at the earthen ground of the divine aura battlefield. This, the spacious battlefield of God's breath, was filled with cultivators at every certain distance. It was clearly the most spectacular battle in the 9 heavens immortal realm since the battle of the 4 supreme highnesses. Even the cultivators who were not qualified to take part in the battle were waiting for the outcome of the battle. Meanwhile, 2 figures were sitting at a table at the top of a magnificent palace in an immortal city. They were enjoying some rare tea while enjoying the scenery in the distance. The 2 figures were none other than Yi Zhaoxian and Song, 2 of the 4 supreme highnesses in the past. "How's the situation in the Blue Dome? Did you find them?" Song asked. "I did. It's just as he said, those people have changed. However, there are still 2 important ones that are wavering. We have no idea what they are going to do in the end," Yi Zhaoxian said calmly. "If they are wavering, it means they are no longer as determined as they used to be. Once he wakes up, he will be able to convince them. Everything will be settled then." Song finished the tea in his cup. Immortal Zhao fell silent. It was hard to tell what she was thinking. She finally spoke after some time. "I just received some news, but none of the bases are doing anything." Song grinned and said, "It seems like they have figured it out. Let's call them back. It's meaningless to keep them here." Immortal Zhao said, "If those bases are useless, they must have established new ones. Should I send someone to the Blue Dome and the lower Arcana realm to search for them?" Song shook his head and said, "Even the lower Arcana realm is full of mysteries. It's better not to waste our time. It won't be good if we offend them. The battle between us will still take place in the battlefield of God's breath." He added after a slight pause, "It's about time. Can we start now?" "Okay." Yi Zhaoxian nodded and disappeared from the spot. Song looked ahead and the smile on his face grew wider and wider. "Zhou Di, oh Zhou Di, I never thought that after so many years, we would actually be able to fight again, even if that is only your reincarnation. However, will you be able to find a chance this time? Can you still stop me?" he said. The more he spoke, the more he laughed. In the end, his laughter shook the entire immortal city, causing countless cultivators to look over. At the same time, in the earth, that among the cultivators scattered around Di Kuan, a group of them suddenly sensed that something was not right. They immediately turned around and unleashed their divine sense. In their vision, a huge rift suddenly broke apart as a magnificent immortal palace slowly descended from it. It emitted a godly glow and a shocking aura, as if it was suppressing the entire place. It was an existence that surpassed Tao-seeking weapons. However, this was not the end. From the immortal palace, an incomparably huge dragon boat slowly rose up, emitting an earth-shaking dragon roar. Then, with a lightning-like speed, it swam in the depths of the sky, stirring up countless winds and waves. The dragon head had a few auras of rulers. It did not hold back and unleashed their full power. Similar scenes took place across Di Kuan. Countless cultivators witnessed it with their own eyes. Meanwhile, a calm voice appeared out of nowhere and echoed in every corner of Di Kuan. "From today onward, Yi Tsong's alliance will set up 72 immortal palaces to guard the surroundings of Di Kuan. 72 heavenly dragon boats will cooperate with the Eye of Heavens to patrol the entire Di Kuan. Anyone who dares to harm the heavenly dragon boats and the immortal palaces will be treated as an enemy of the alliance. No matter where you hide, we will make you pay. Secondly, anyone who discovers a cultivator from Qin Nan's alliance will be rewarded if you tell us about it. The stronger the enemy's cultivation, the greater the benefits. Anyone who manages to kill a ruler of Qin Nan's alliance will become Sangji's and my disciple, and receive our succession. Lastly, from today onward, the alliance will establish 6 void ancient paths in Dikuan, located around Dikuan. All rulers who wish to enter Dikuan and participate in the Battle of the Heaven Highnesses will have to pass through the 6 void ancient paths, verify your identity, and ascend to Dikuan. Anyone who disobeys the rules will be slain by my hand. Dikuan floated above Dikuan. It was not as vast as Dikuan. It was more like an enormous island. As soon as Yi Zhaoxian finished speaking, the peak rulers in the depths of the Kuan earth immediately saw a peerless ray of light surging into the sky from the edge of the sky firmament world. Yes, some of the peak rulers with powerful visual abilities were able to see a majestic figure in the depths of the divine light. This figure was currently forming hand seals and executing a wondrous technique. It was him. They immediately gasped. That was him. It was Yi Zhaoxian. Clang. However, this was not Yi Zhaoxian's true body. Yi Zhaoxian's true body was unable to enter the divine aura battlefield. If she tried to force her way in, the rules of the divine aura battlefield would be completely disrupted. That was Yi Zhaoxian's 6 clones. The void ancient path penetrates heaven and earth. Immortal Zhaoxian's 6 clones performed the final hand seal and slapped forward. Zhu. Many peak rulers immediately saw the peerless light rising into the sky like a pillar that had its balance broken. It slowly toppled downward. Finally, with a deafening boom, the top part of the peerless light smashed into the ground, sending a cloud of dust into the air. Then, Chapter 2600. The 2 authorities are making their moves. So this is what a Supreme Highness is capable of. It's too shocking. The whole Earth realm and Tianqian realm are sealed off. It's impossible for Qin Nan and the others to enter Tianqian realm and achieve the Heaven Highness realm. You have to know that this is only the means that the 2 giants have laid out on the surface. I'm afraid that they have laid out even more shocking means in secret. In my opinion, Qin Nan's time is running out. He won't stand a chance against the 2 authorities. Of course, I knew this day would come. How could a reincarnation be more impressive than the 2 authorities? Countless cultivators in the entire Earth realm were shocked by the news, and all of them were moved. The expressions of many experts who were still hesitating changed again and again. Finally, they secretly made up their minds. They had no choice but to make a decision under the circumstances. They had to find a chance to side with Song and Yi Zhaoxian. Otherwise, it would be meaningless for them to side with Song and Yi Zhaoxian once Qin Nan was taken out. Until, as for the large factions who had long been secretly aware of this news, they were all silent. Meanwhile, in the undying Cycle Mountain in the sky of a certain immortal realm, is there really no way to change his mind? Heaven Highness Ling Huang stood on a stone pedestal and looked at Cassiopeia, who had just arrived from the distance. He said with a worried look, "It's too risky. Why does he have to consider it from the perspective of the Alliance? We just want him to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. As long as he can achieve the Heaven Highness realm, it doesn't matter if we die." Ruler Chu, Ruler Changshao, Ruler Qingyu, and the rest of the authorities shared Heaven Highness Ling Huang's reaction. They never thought Qin Nan was going to do it. Even Zhou Xuandao furrowed his brows. "Cultivator Ling Huang, I've already tried to persuade my master, but as you can see, my master has already chased me away," Cassiopeia said helplessly. He would not have tried to persuade Qin Nan if he knew this was going to happen. Qin Nan. He could do whatever he wanted as long as he had the ownerless heaven pattern with him. No, I can't let him do as he pleases. Empyrean Ling Huang gritted his teeth and said, "Since he repeatedly emphasized that we're an alliance, then we'll collectively oppose him. If he still isn't willing, then we'll do it our own way." As he spoke, he suddenly looked at Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Shui Mengyao. If he had to persuade Qin Nan, the three of them were obviously better candidates. "Grandpa Ling Huang, don't look at me like that. I think Xiao Nanzi's idea is pretty good. Of course I'll support him without hesitation. Besides, don't you think it's very exciting?" Princess Miao Miao said eagerly. "I think it's a little inappropriate, but I don't dare to disobey my husband and princess." Jiang Bailan chuckled. Senior Ling Huang, then there's no need to mention me, right?" Shui Mengyao blushed. "I've just married into the family. There's no way I can disobey my husband and sisters." She initially wanted to call Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan big sister and second sister, but Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan immediately rejected her suggestion as soon as she mentioned it. Ling Huang, Emperor Ling Huang, and the others were left speechless. Wasn't it just like the old saying, "Birds of the same feather flock together"? Cultivator Ling Huang, my master also mentioned that if you insist on doing what you want, he won't change his mind. He might even expose himself in advance, Kasyapa added. Emperor Ling Huang's lips twisted. He fell silent for a long time before he said in a discouraged tone, "Forget it, after all, he's the reason why we're together. If he has made up his mind, we'll play along with him. Let's hope it works out in the end. If we can get rid of one tiger, we'll have more time, and the situation will improve." Time gradually passed under the attention of the cultivators in the 9 heavens, immortal realm. For many people, every breath of time became much slower, as if a year had passed. The atmosphere in the earth Dikuan not only grew livelier, but it also grew more intense. Finally, battles broke out everywhere under the orders of some formidable factions. Even though it was said that Yi Zhaoxian had already instructed the major factions not to have any conflicts before the Battle of the Celestial Exalts began, they could not allow any ruler to fall. However, these major factions all had their own enemies. If they allowed their enemies to ascend to the Celestial Exalts, wouldn't they be doomed? They did not want to engage in a large-scale battle, but they could focus on 1 or 2 people instead of killing them. They only wanted to inflict serious injuries on them. However, some of the peak rulers in the Earth Dikuan raised their heads when they sensed something. It felt like pairs of godly eyes had appeared deep in the rift. They were staring at the Earth Dikuan with a peerless power. "Heaven Highness Realm experts are here. The Heaven Highness battle is closely related to the future of the 9 heavens, immortal realm. These Heaven Highness Realm experts won't be able to sit still. I'm afraid most of them will come and stand guard outside the battlefield." The rogue cultivators in the 9 heavens, immortal realm were startled. An old man and a young man came from the crowd in the Earth Dikuan. The old man was following behind them respectfully, while the young man was walking in front. He was looking around casually. "Beat them up as hard as you can, the harder the better. It'll give me more time to prepare myself," the young man said with a charming smile. He was none other than Huang Fuju, who had just recovered. He had achieved the peak master realm from the heaven immortal realm in just a few months. He was not far away from the time when he could summon the demon hand. At this time, in a cold sea, there was a small boat and a fisherman. He did not pull the fishing rod even though the fish had taken the bait. It was as if he had fallen asleep. The surface of the ocean rippled as the wind blew. He waited quietly without saying a word. After an unknown period of time, he suddenly pulled the fishing rod and fished up a golden arowana from the sea. Its countless dragon scales shone brightly under the sunlight. It's here." Chapter 2601. Meanwhile, in the Kuan Earth, countless rulers of Tao and cultivators in the Master Realm had gathered close to the 6 void ancient paths. Enormous eyes of heavens were floating deep in the sky. They were releasing their power to observe the world. In the air, there were many enormous absolute heavens dragon ship. From time to time, they would let out deafening dragon roars and travel in all directions. As the creator of the battlefield of God Breath, I hereby announce that the second battle of Heaven Highnesses has officially begun. At this moment, Yi Zhaoxian's indifferent voice once again resounded in every corner of the world. The battle of the heavenly venerates this time will last for a month. Any ruler of Tao is allowed to take part in it. Open the gate of void. As the last sentence fell, if someone was above the sky, they would definitely be able to see that countless nine-colored lights suddenly surged out from the north and south of the sky. Furthermore, they slowly condensed into two towering gates that were tens of thousands of feet tall. The magnificent gates landed on the ground. Following a series of deep noises, the gates slowly opened. A desolate aura burst out from the gates. When the door was fully opened, a shocking sight took place. Thousands of terrifying roars could be heard, as all kinds of strange creatures poured out from the door like a great flood. Most importantly, the auras emitted by each of them were extremely shocking. At the very least, they were comparable to the ruler realm in the greater success stage. The Nanshan battlefield and the Bago battlefield shook vigorously. In fact, there were even many strange creatures who, due to various reasons, began to fight with one another, causing the flames of war to erupt. The cultivators close to the six void ancient paths sensed the unusual aura coming from the heavenly firmament, yet they were unable to peek through the heavenly firmament with their eye technique. Cultivators of the Li clan and the Wang clan, listen up. All rulers of Tao are to ascend to the heavenly firmament at once. All cultivators in the Master Realm are to try their best to achieve the Ruler Realm within a month. Once they do, they are to enter the heavenly firmament at once. Don't make any mistakes, shouted a white-haired old man full of vigor. Then, he turned into a streak of light and flew into the void ancient path. Acknowledged. The rulers immediately followed closely behind, their auras surging like rainbows. Go. Ascend the void ancient path. No matter what, I have to become a celestial venerate. The various factions and the rogue cultivators in the ruler realm did not waste any time. They swiftly flew up the ancient path. It should be known that when the battle of the heavenly sovereigns began, it was the easiest time to obtain opportunities. This was because the void gate would remain open for an entire month. It would only completely close after the battle of the heavenly sovereigns ended. In other words, as time went on, more and more creatures would enter Tianqian, making it more and more dangerous. Otherwise, why would only 15 people successfully advance in the first heavenly venerate battle? Before long, the first group of sovereigns who had reached the end of the void ancient path saw a divine palace at the end of the path. 6 peak sovereigns in divine armor stood respectfully in 2 rows. It was Yi Zhaoxian's clone. He sat at the back of the crowd with an expressionless face. That's Song. Song is here. Suddenly, there was a huge commotion in the crowd. Song arrived in front of the crowd. His robe drifted in the wind with an imposing aura. Meanwhile, on the wall of the Sea Shaman Palace, after learning that someone had already claimed the last 3 pieces of ancient jade and the battle of the heavenly sovereigns was about to begin, the cultivators who had come to participate in the battle had already left. However, it was not only Taoist Yu Miao and old man Lu Zhaoming who were still here, there were 3 more figures. They were respectively an old man with white eyebrows, a woman in palace attire, and a stooped old woman. The auras emitted by the 3 of them were all peak sovereigns. This was especially true for the white-browed old man. He was emitting a faintly discernible oppressive might. They were the experts of the Mumen sect. The patriarch of the Mumen sect was enraged when he learned that the 2 peak sovereigns and Yan Wushuang had been killed. He immediately ordered the 3 of them to investigate the matter. The old man with white eyebrows even brought a Heaven Highness weapon as a precaution. Initially, the tribe of immortal spirits was infuriated as well. However, under Lu Xiaoming's hint, the current tribe leader of the tribe of immortal spirits sensed that something was amiss. Hence, she chose to remain silent and delay the Mumin sect's anger. Still not planning to show yourself? The old man with white eyebrows' eyes flickered coldly. He looked at Lu Xiaoming and said, "If that's the case, cultivator Yu Miao, we have no choice but to offend the tribe of immortal spirits. The three of us will place a forbidding aura in Lu Xiaoming's body for 10 days. If you tell the culprit the truth, you will be safe. If you don't, you will die for sure." Lu Xiaoming's expression shifted. He had an urge to burst out cursing. "Do you think I don't want to tell you? I can't tell you," Taoist Yu Miao said with a bitter tone. "Cultivator, why do you have to go so far? Listen to me, you should put the matter aside and focus on achieving the Heaven Highness realm. Don't provoke someone that you can't afford to offend," the woman in a palace robe said with a hollow laugh. "Yu Miao, are you still trying to scare us? Do you think the Mumin sect is afraid of anyone in the 9 heavens immortal realm? Besides, even if the culprit is a Heaven Highness, we still have to know who it is. The Mumin sect. We can't afford to be bullied so easily." They believed the culprit was most likely the clone of a Heaven Highness. That being said, it was also possible that the tribe of immortal spirits had set up an ambush. Taoist Yu Miao felt helpless. He was about to say something when a calm voice said, "Don't trouble them. I'm the culprit." Chapter 2602. Bang Bang Bang. Following a series of deafening explosions, Taoist Yu Miao and Lu Xiaoming could clearly see that the three authorities who had been acting tough during this period of time were like a small boat in the vast ocean. In just a few breaths' time, they were overwhelmed by the shocking wave. They were devoured by the wave. Even though they were aware of Qin Nan's strength, they were still dumbfounded when they saw it again. Qin Nan remained expressionless after eliminating the 3 peak rulers of Tao. He looked into the distance quietly. Lu Xiaoming collected his thoughts. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, "Friend Qin Nan, what are you going to do next? Both Earth Dikuan and Tianqian are trying to kill you." Qin Nan glanced at him and said with a smile, "You will soon understand." Time gradually passed. A day was gone fairly quickly. Most of the rulers of Tao had gone to the 2 battlefields in Tianqian. They began to discover all kinds of fortunate encounters. Battles were taking place too. The scale of the Battle of Heaven Highnesses was a few times bigger than the previous one. Even the cultivators in the Master Realm in Earth Dikuan could hear the dull explosions from time to time. It was obvious how shocking the battles were. Has Qin Nan shown up? The 6 void ancient paths aren't showing up. I don't think Qin Nan has shown up yet. Not only Qin Nan, the rulers of Qin Nan's alliance haven't shown up either. What is Qin Nan's alliance trying to do? Are they going to give up on the Battle of Heaven Highnesses? There's no way they are going to give up. If they do, Qin Nan's alliance will be wiped out. They won't stand a chance anymore. The formidable factions, including the rogue cultivators in the Master Realm who had yet to reach the peak of the Master Realm, were paying close attention to the battle. Little did they know, the Masters of Tao and the rulers of Tao in Qin Nan's alliance had already turned into a huge net. They had changed their appearances and were waiting patiently inside Dikuan. They had blended into the groups of cultivators in the Master Realm. No one would notice anything out of the ordinary. Jiang Bailan was walking on an ancient land. She glanced at Tianqian in the distance and transmitted her voice. "How are the preparations?" Princess Miao Miao transmitted her voice. "Number 1 has arrived at the designated location." Shui Mengyao said, "Number 2 has arrived at the designated location." Ancestor Mingqiu, "Number 3." The others quickly responded. Jiang Bailan nodded slightly and said, "Everyone, pay attention. Follow the plan. It doesn't matter what happens in Tianqian, it has nothing to do with it. We just need to do what we have to do. Either way, we can't let Alliance leader Qin Nan down. Yes. Yes. Over 100 divine senses were transmitted into Jiang Bailan's heart. Meanwhile, the 72 floating immortal palaces in Earth. Similar to how Qin Nan's alliance was split into groups with code names, the 72 immortal palaces had their own divisions too. 3 royal palaces were in charge of the remaining 69 immortal palaces. The palace masters of these 3 palaces were all trusted aides of Yi Zhaoxian and Song. They could speak directly to Yi Zhaoxian and Song. Furthermore, they were greatly nurtured by Yi Zhaoxian and Song. They were extraordinary. The master of the first royal palace was called Li Tianqiu. He was a peak ruler realm cultivator and a core disciple of the Li clan. Don't let your guard down. The people of Qin Nan's alliance won't give up on the opportunity. They will show up in a day or two. Li Tianqiu transmitted his voice. Acknowledged, the disciples quickly responded. Li Tianqiu rose to his feet and looked into the distance. He could not help but feel excited. This was his chance to prove himself. Lady Yi Zhaoxian had promised him personally. Even if he could not kill Qin Nan, as long as he could inflict serious damage on the people of Qin Nan's alliance, he would definitely become a heavenly venerate. Moreover, he would not be an ordinary heavenly venerate. After following Yi Zhaoxian and Song, he had learned that there were differences between heavenly venerates. The Li clan? The Wang clan? The Wu clan? I'd like to see what you have to say when the time comes. Li Tianqiu's lips curled into a cold grin. He had not followed Yi Zhaoxian and Song for a long time. However, when the Li clan, Wang clan, and Wu clan formed an alliance and decided to remain neutral and even secretly help Qin Nan, he had abandoned the Li clan without hesitation and sided with Yi Zhaoxian. He believed that the future of the world would be on Yi Zhaoxian and Song's side. Who did Qin Nan think he was? How dare he compete with 2 supreme highnesses? King Li's alliance's actions were simply seeking their own humiliation and destruction. Especially you, Li Yangfan. How dare you hit me for an outsider? Li Tianqiu's eyes flickered coldly. Furthermore, he had given him a ruthless slap in front of so many people, causing his reputation to be completely swept to the ground. Once Qin Nan is dead and Lady Yi Zhaoxian becomes a supreme highness, she will dominate the world. You shall see how I torture you then. Li Tianqiu's grin suddenly turned sinister. He was quite interested in Li Yangfan, but Li Yangfan's talents were too outstanding. He did not stand a chance in the past. However, Li Tianqiu's expression suddenly changed as an intense sense of danger rose in his heart. What's going on? Li Tianqiu immediately executed an eye technique that Yi Zhaoxian had taught him to look ahead. With one look, his face was filled with shock and disbelief. It was a saber glow. It was the most brilliant saber glow he had ever seen. Even from a great distance, he felt like the saber had struck his soul. Chapter 2603. He's going to fight me head-on? Li Tianqiu could not believe his eyes. Even though Master Tsang did mention that Qin Nan might choose to fight him head-on, Li Tianqiu did not believe it at all. He knew it was a trap, yet he still came here to get himself killed? How was that even possible? However, it was really happening right in front of his eyes. Ambush, ambush! However, Li Tianqiu was no ordinary peak ruler realm. He quickly collected his thoughts and let out a roar into the sky. He fully unleashed his cultivation to trigger the weapon spirit of the palace. The palace suddenly emitted a brilliant immortal glow. All kinds of ancient formations were awakened from their slumber. They began to operate rapidly and connect with one another to unleash their power. Bang! Following a deafening crash, the glow of the palace instantly dimmed, as a few of the side halls were destroyed mercilessly by the saber intent. As the master of the palace, Li Tianxiu was obviously affected too. His face turned pale, as if he had just been slashed in the chest. He was having a hard time breathing. What the K are you waiting for? Give it your all and activate the palace. Li Tianxiu roared again. With a flash, he appeared at the top of the palace. The rest of the cultivators in the palace were startled by the saber and Qin Nan's words. They had already made their way to the top of the palace. However, just like Li Tianxiu, their faces were filled with disbelief. A man holding a saber walked out of the rift with an indifferent expression. Even though the man was not unleashing any aura, everything in the world had lost its color when he appeared. Li Tianxiu's eyes widened when he saw Qin Nan's true appearance. Even though he assumed Qin Nan would surely lose to Yi Zhaoxian and Master Tsang, he could not help but admit that apart from the two masters, no one in the world was strong enough to stand a chance against Qin Nan. Qin Nan, you're here as I thought. A figure walked out of the palace with a smile. It was none other than Tsang. However, it was just a clone that Tsang had planted in one of the 72 immortal palaces. Even a 9 Heavens Supreme would not be able to unleash its power. Qin Nan, to tell you the truth, your arrival has made me both happy and disappointed. I'm happy because my judgment of you was right, but I'm disappointed because you can't bear to part with some unimportant people. Tsang said. However, before he could finish, Qin Nan flicked his finger and unleashed a wisp of aura. It penetrated the formations in the palace and shattered Tsang's clone into pieces. The battle has already started, yet you are still so noisy, Qin Nan said indifferently. Then, his figure suddenly disappeared and reappeared above the palace. Li Tianxiu and the rest of the rulers of Dao were startled. They could feel a terrifying aura, as if the sky above them was about to collapse and fall on them. Great Evolution World Mountain. Qin Nan slashed downward. He did not unleash any saber intent. Instead, he summoned a magnificent illusionary mountain above the palace. The enormous palace began to tremble violently as if it had encountered its natural enemy. The walls and even the formations began to crack rapidly as if they were unable to endure the pressure. However, that was not the most terrifying part. Li Tianxiu and the others clearly sensed that the illusionary mountain was suppressing the rift in all directions. It was suppressing the aura of the place. Qin Nan was undefeatable in the ruler realm. Apart from Tsang, no one in the rulers of Dao could stand a chance against him. Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang even believed that ordinary heaven highnesses would not stand a chance against Qin Nan. As such, to prevent Qin Nan from taking down the immortal palaces one by one, Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang purposely set up an ancient formation in each of the immortal palaces. It would allow the immortal palaces to reach the other immortal palaces at an unimaginable speed. The ground. If the immortal palaces had gathered together, how could Qin Nan possibly stand a chance against them? However, the rift was completely suppressed now. It was meaningless to activate the formation. They were like turtles in a jar. They had no choice but to fight Qin Nan to the death. Meanwhile, deep inside the Kuan earth. Let's fight! Following Qin Nan's order, several powerful auras burst out of the immortal palaces nearby, as if they had just appeared. Kill! Jiang Bailan, Princess Miao Miao, Xue Mengyao, Mingqiu Progenitor, and the rest of the peak rulers of Dao showed up and executed their immortal arts. Previously, the Qin Nan alliance had spread out like a huge net deep inside the Kuan earth. They spread out in all directions and kept a low profile. However, they had unleashed their full strength. They tightened the net and gathered together to attack Qin Nan. There were 25 immortal palaces. In just a few breaths' time, the whole Kuan earth became restless. The battle has begun. The Qin Nan alliance is at war. The battle has finally begun. Listen up, don't go any further. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Tisk tsk, the fisherman benefits when the sandpiper and the clam fight. Let's see if we can get anything out of it. Many cultivators in the Master Realm received the news as soon as it happened. Following it, they received even more shocking news. Qin Nan had made his move. He did not ask the experts of the Alliance to pave a path for him with their lives. He was facing Yi Zhaoxian and Song head-on. Chapter 2604. Qin Nan, don't disappoint me. In the middle profound realm of the Blue Dome, the eyes of the white-haired old man formed by the celestial tree flickered with starlight. He released a terrifying power that pierced through the sky and earth to see Qin Nan. Beside him were the current celestial venerates of the Li and Wang clans, celestial venerate Li Pasheng, celestial venerate Huang Yun, and celestial venerate Duan Mu. Even though the alliance between the Li and Wang clans had only provided some help to Qin Nan's alliance over the past 2 years, they were still under a lot of pressure to make such a decision. If it weren't for the fact that the celestial tree was an extraordinary celestial venerate, the alliance between the Li and Wang clans would have been suppressed by Yi Zhaoxian and Song. Yi Zhaoxian and Song were aware of their actions. If Qin Nan was destroyed by Yi Zhaoxian and Song, they wouldn't be able to kill him. Sooner or later, they would come looking for them to settle the score. Apart from them, Celestial Venerate Evernight, who had disappeared for 2 years, Celestial Venerate Lu Fang of the Immortal Spirits clan, Celestial Venerate Fei Bao of the 9 Palace Golden Immortal Sect, Brightheart Buddha of the Ancient Bodhi Temple, Celestial Venerate Qin Tian of the Su clan, and the rogue cultivator Yang Ling Tianzuan. All of them watched this scene in silence. This group of people were all neutral existences in the current general trend of the world. In front of them, Qin Nan, who was clashing with the palace in the depths of the earth, displayed incredible strength. Under the control of Li Tianqiu and the other rulers, the palace had already unleashed strength close to that of an ordinary celestial venerate. However, the illusory mountain continued to suppress the palace, causing it to sink and crumble. Qin Nan was drawing his saber again. A sacred glow burst out of Qin Nan's body as an ancient demon realm appeared behind him. The two forces that seemed to be opposing one another merged into a sharp saber glow that descended from the sky. It slashed down. "Good lad!" In the depths of the endless void, the celestial tree's pupils shrank, and then it laughed loudly. Not bad at all. He had not wasted the past 2 years. He had completely mastered the immortal demon art, and was only a step away from attaining the eternal indestructible body. He's 1 step behind. Under his gaze, Li Tianqiu and the others uttered roars into the sky as they unleashed the power of the palace. Talismans and magnificent figures floated above the palace. The power of the various ancient grand formations also erupted. However, following a loud explosion, the various powers were all shattered into pieces. The enormous palace was forcibly sliced in half. For a moment, the palace's artifact spirit wailed incessantly while Li Tianqiu and the others turned ghastly pale and vomited blood. Run! Escape! The eyes of Li Tianqiu and the others flickered with fear. They quickly burned their life force to execute the forbidden art that Yi Zhaoxian and Song had taught them. Yi Zhaoxian and Song might have treated them as pawns to eliminate Qin Nan, but it was not easy to recruit a ruler of Dao, thus they had spent a lot of effort on them. "Are you trying to run away now that I'm here?" Qin Nan took a step forward and threw a punch forward. The terrifying force of the punch immediately turned Li Tianqiu into a rain of blood. A one-sided massacre had begun. Meanwhile, deep inside the Earth realm, Qin Nan's alliance had set more than 20 places on fire. The heavens and earth shook vigorously with strong gusts of wind. Many rogue cultivators in the Master Realm stopped what they were doing and watched the battle from afar. An important piece of news suddenly spread to the various immortal palaces and into the minds of the Sovereign Realm experts present. Qin Nan's true self has arrived, and is leading the expedition in person. Qin Nan has already sunk the second palace. Li Tianxiu and the others are all dead. None of them survived. What? The second palace is destroyed? How long has it been? The expressions of the rulers changed, and their hearts trembled. The eyes of Tsang's clone, who was in charge of the immortal palaces, emitted a brilliant glow. He said thunderously, "Pass down the order from Yi Zhaoxian and I, we are to carry out the fifth plan. Withdraw to the entrances of the 6 void ancient paths and regroup. We are fighting against Qin Nan's alliance. Our immortal palaces are not allowed to stay in the battle regardless of the situation. Withdraw at once." The rulers of Dao immediately calmed their thoughts, acknowledged. The remaining 69 immortal palaces and 2 royal palaces immediately activated their ancient formations. They turned into a blinding light and flew toward the entrances of the 6 void ancient paths like the sun. The heaven-severing dragon boat let out a series of dragon roars. It turned around and followed the order. All of a sudden, the entire depths of the earth trembled from the impact, setting off a series of shocking storms. If one were to look down from an extremely high vantage point, they would discover that there seemed to be 71 peerless torrents on the ground, converging towards the 6 great seas. The scene was grand and shocking. At the second palace, Qin Nan unleashed his terrifying eye technique and observed the distance. His lips curled upward. "Is that so?" He then transmitted his voice, "Listen to my order. Carry out the third plan and gather at the entrance of the 3rd void ancient path." Jiang Bailan and the others replied, "Affirmative." Qin Nan shattered the space within a few dozen li with a single movement. He turned into a beam of light and flew forward. If the cultivators of the immortal palaces were as fast as blue eagles spreading their wings, surpassing the speed of peak rulers, Qin Nan was as fast as a golden-winged ping, flashing across the heavens and earth. No one below the ruler realm could see him. He left behind an afterimage. In less than 2 breaths' time, a immortal palace that was heading toward the entrance of the void ancient path appeared in Qin Nan's sight. Qin Nan did not stop. He immediately threw the saber in his hand. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.